we will occasionally remind each other that what we think to be our greatest weakness can sometimes be our biggest strength, and that the most unlikely person can alter the course of history. The Nefel Philosophy. And welcome to Twin Flames Between Worlds podcast. My name is Tabitha.
And I'm Liesl.
Hi, and welcome back to our 5th episode of A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas.
Ooh, are we already on 5?
Yeah, we're halfway.
Wow.
By the end of this thing of chapters, we'll be officially halfway.
That's insane.
I know, because we only have 10 main episodes, technically, and of the other 2. But yeah, so we will be going through chapters 25 to the end of chapter 29. I want to preface this, but it wasn't that I wasn't excited to do this episode, but at first I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of lore, a lot of politicking going on, but I forgot how interesting it was, and so I'm like, oh my god, I'm hyped. So I'm really excited to dive into this, so get into it.
What happens in this section, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. So previously on A Court of Wings and Ruin, there was, again, a lot of talking. There was a lot of figuring out politics-wise what we're going to do. You know, the High Lords meeting and planning that. And we went to the prison again with Cassian this time. And basically the Bone Carver told us that his asking price for being in this war is the Ouroboros mirror that is under Kyr's possession.
Which, of course, that's going to be super easy to get.
Right. So there's more than one reason why we're going to the Court of Nightmares, because we start with going to there because we need, using that we again. Yes, we.
It's accurate.
The Inner Circle needs Kyr's Dartbringers to fight with them, because obviously more people means more able bodies to fight.
Yes.
So honestly, I'm a little bit shocked that we start like right in the throne room. Well, because the last time we went to the Court of Nightmares, it was very much like there was an epic entrance.
Right.
But now we're just kind of walking in.
Yeah.
So we start with Amren dressing Nesta in this simple, brutal black dress.
I do love that Amren dressed her.
I know, right?
How that is, I'm like, go put this on, like throws the dress at her.
Yeah, because she doesn't really seem to care about her own wardrobe.
She wears like the same thing.
Yeah, she wears the same 2-piece like pajama set.
Which, okay, valid. She probably has 1 million of that exact copy.
Probably, yes. I love how it's described as Amren and Nesta are kind of in these elegant things, while Mor and Feyre are in cobwebs.
Good looking cobwebs.
It kind of shows the difference between, how do I say, the reason or the way that they're going about it, the way they're playing. Because like Amren and Nesta are the ones that you don't fuck with, like on the side, that you don't talk to at all, while Mor and Feyre are the more playful ones.
Right, that's true.
Yes, obviously, we already walked in epically before, we don't need to. Very proud of Nesta for not balking at anybody. Just head held high, moving through the throne room.
It almost feels that Nesta is more of, in a way, what Feyre was last time, of like kind of the piece that to not necessarily show off, but for everyone to gawk at, of like, who's this new person traveling with the Inner Circle.
Right. Though I feel like Nesta isn't scared. It's not that Feyre was, but there was sort of an uneasiness, which Nesta doesn't seem to look like at all.
Right. I mean, and it's different because we were inside Feyre's head versus we're not in Nesta's.
Yes.
Like, we don't know exactly what she's thinking.
And she seems to put on a good facade.
Yeah.
So maybe she actually is nervous, but we just can't tell.
Right.
So Liesl guessed this last episode. There is only one throne. There's only one throne for them, which is hilarious.
Yes.
Because unlike last time, Feyre doesn't sit on Rhys's lap. Rhys walks her up hand in hand, and Feyre sits on the throne with Rhys perched on the arm of the chair.
I can totally imagine that, though. Obviously, you know, there's a difference between sitting on the arm, like, with your legs in versus out. I totally see him, like, facing out and leaning with his arm over the back of the throne and just, like, bow.
Yes, bow, peasants.
Bow before your leader.
Yeah, because it's honestly, this is their first, because this is where the majority of their court is. Well, the other one, but they never knew about her being High Lady yet. So this is like their first introduction to her.
Yeah.
What other way to try to demand respect?
Right.
But they didn't bow at her at first. They just kind of balked, but definitely Rhys made them.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel what's cool about this scene versus last time was her powers are more strong now. And so she sends out, so she feels the tendrils of her power as people are trying to sense her. I kind of feel like in like a snake way. I could just imagine, obviously we can't see the magic, but it's like mentally.
Yeah, I definitely had like that feeling of, I mean, I guess I was also kind of thinking of like what my imagery of acid shadows are. Basically like roles of shadow and darkness swirling and like weaving in and out. God, there's an animation somewhere. I'm gonna have to find it. But it's basically, it has like those types of moving shadows that I'm thinking of.
Well, yeah, so they're trying to sense her, and it's funny because she's kind of letting them until they get too close. Basically, Rhys is like, oh, you'll have to remedy this. We need another throne.
Oh no! Although I think he's perfectly fine with just sitting on the arm.
Honestly, I think so, because then they could that would truly show they're equals, because they don't need another one. Like they can just share the one.
Yeah.
Which is very different than Mist and Fury when she was sitting in that. I will never forget her sitting in that rickety ass wooden chair next to Tamlin during the tithe.
Yeah,
that was dumb as hell.
So stupid. Thank goodness they don't have tithe here. But yeah, and also I think I mentioned this in the last episode of like if they have only one throne. I mean, sure, they're probably going to be there together a lot, but there's also the chance that they'll only just be one at a time.
Yeah, I think they should be worried if more than one of them come at a time.
Right.
So anyway, obviously Rhys is scaring the shit out of them, and they're really playing. I love them playing with each other. Like, surely they can rise, my love. What's so funny is she lashes out, so the tendrils of power come too close, and she snaps at all of them.
So epic.
Yeah, like she slams her power into them and scares the shit out of everybody that is using their powers anyway. Kind of the same way that Rhys dug his claws into her at the first dinner. It's like that's how she kind of, honestly, her powers are seeming more and more like Rhys's, which was going to happen, but yeah, she's starting to describe them more and more like his. Yeah. It's like she actually does it to the people who dared to come too close. I think some of them winnow and then some of them like scream.
Yeah, or like yelp or whatever, and then some like just straight up winnow out of there. I'm like, nope. Yeah,
it's like, nope. Well, because last time she came, none of them thought that she had any powers.
Right.
It's not like she showed any of them.
Suckers.
It's just funny to see this dynamic between the two of them.
They always play so well together.
So it's interesting, remember, because last time when Azriel went to steal the orb from the last book, Amren and Nesta kind of like announced themselves to him. Okay, we're leaving. Basically.
Right. Like, I'm gonna go. It's like, yep, go have fun.
We're going downstairs to play with the items. Yeah. I love it. I love how when Amren is making their way, because the difference between Amren and Azriel, like Amren doesn't need to like sneak anywhere. Kyr's not going to tell her no.
Right.
So I love how in the narration it's kind of like, let some of the monster show, as like they were questioning Amren as they were watching them go. That was kind of cute. It was cool.
The difference between this Court of Nightmare scene already compared to the last one.
Well, yeah, and so I said this in my notes, but what kind of sucks is that Kyr's going into this with the upper hand, and I just hate it. Because last time there was kind of an easiness with going. They weren't trying to ask him for anything. But now, obviously, they need something from him so desperately that they'll basically do anything, and that just makes him have the upper hand here, automatically.
Yeah. To have the High Lord and Lady, like, do anything because they need something from you.
Especially when, let's remember, Rhys like shattered his arm and didn't let him.
I know, it's like they need to ask for stuff, but like last time they were here it didn't go so well.
It's like, let's just forget what happened.
Yeah, just wipe that from his mind, please.
So he tells Kyr to meet him in the council room again, which is way different than last time. They talked in the throne room. I really love this description of the council room though, because like it says it's as large as the throne room, but I like how the the mammoth table was a black glass, splitting the room in two like a lightning strike. I really liked that.
That is a cool description. Definitely paints an image.
Yeah, definitely a them versus us mentality going on here with who's on what side of the table.
Yeah.
So they say a chair sat beside Kier, empty. We should have known, but I still was shocked. It still took me off guard.
I mean, obviously someone was coming, but like I should have seen it, but I didn't.
But I thought it was somebody that Kier was bringing. Like even when it happened, I was like, oh, is this like Kier's guest or what's going on here?
Right.
Definitely not. So again, Kier basically knows why they're here. They want his help. They need his army.
Yeah.
So, let me see. So he kind of goes off for a rant a little bit about how he sympathizes with Hybern's cause, which is just bullshit. They are not the same at all.
So don't tell your High Lord that.
Also, like, because what Kier is saying is that even though they're under this mountain, they're technically not free to go about as they wish, which technically is true. They're only allowed to be under the mountain. And I think even if, like, they can't really go too far, but this whole place is massive. It doesn't seem like they, from the last book, when they described the Hewn City, it made it seem like nobody wanted to leave.
I mean, like, it is a huge city under a mountain.
Like, they were content on staying there. Like, let's remember, their ancestors bargained it to be this way.
Yeah.
Like, that they have free reign to do, and also they have free reign. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about as, like, because he tells Rhys, it's that mentality that, you know, makes me sympathize when Rhys is saying, everything in this court is mine. But that's true. That's every fucking High Lord. I don't really understand what he's trying to get at here.
He's like, oh, woe is me.
Honestly, I feel like Kier has more autonomy than any other lord in any other territory, in a way, underneath the High Lords, anyway. So, like, Kier brings up about how, like, we're not even allowed to go to the palace upstairs. And Rhys is like, you can have the Moonstone Palace. I said, no! I love that place! Don't give that to Kier!
I know, it's such a pretty place. Like, Kier will ruin it.
We love the Moonstone Palace. Please do not. I mean, but out of everything he was given, I'm pretty sure that's like the smallest thing.
That's true. But at first, it's just like, no.
No, we love the Moonstone Palace. Like, that place is awesome. I love how he says, you must need my army rather desperately, Rhysand. Are the overgrown bats not up to snuff anymore?
Wow. Dare to call the Illyrian warriors overgrown bats. I mean, they kind of are, but in the setting, Kier, back off.
Especially with Azriel, like, literally in the room, already hating this guy and wanting to kill him.
Azriel doesn't necessarily, like, consider himself part of the Illyrians directly, but at the same time, his brother is. And his other brother is half bat. So if he's not above himself, he's protective of his brothers.
Yeah, because, again, Cassian is in the city watching Elaine right now, and the city itself, but so it's only more Feyre, Rhysand, and Azriel that are in the room right now. So, the audacity. Because basically, Rhys is asking him what he wants. What do you want? He has the audacity to look at Feyre like somehow that she's gonna be a bargaining chip. Here, you have a death wish.
Honestly, yeah, just kill him and get a new one.
Oh, because what does he say? It's something like, what would you give for me at a shot at this war, Rhysand? You hoard yourself to Amarantha, but what about your mate? Oh my god. Oh my. Also, that's your high lady? Like, that was, okay, reading this the second time, I mean, obviously he's just a skis, but I'm pretty sure in this instance, he was trying to make her look weak because, oh, she's just a woman. All she'd be used for is a bargaining chip to have sex with, you know, or whatever. It was a degrading thing. Just to try, you know, oh, she's high lady now. How could there be a he just doesn't understand. Like, he can't fathom.
Right. And considering that he remembers that last time she was there, well, he called her whore, for one. Also, she was like, well, playing the part of whore. So he's like, he just can't fathom how one moment, like, first time he sees her, she's getting all horny on Rhys's lap, and then the next is she's owning them, pretty much.
Yeah.
He just doesn't understand. And it also feels like he's pushing. He's like seeing how far he can push her.
He's trying to put a woman in her place, but you can't really do that here.
We saw how well that worked with Moore.
Nope. But Rhys shuts it down real fast. So it's kind of funny because when I read it this time, I kind of had a flashback to Tamlin, like his talons and everything. But the thing is about Rhys is that they're invisible to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so talons just went down like the black stone of the table, and like Feyre even jumped. I did too. It was like everybody kind of jumped at that. He's like, yeah, no, fuck no. Yeah, I love how Rhys brings up the fact that it's like, okay, our ancestors gave you the right to not aid us, but it didn't give you your life, so tread carefully.
That is a good threat. Good threat.
Mm-hmm. Bro, and this is where it goes downhill. Rhys and Az went behind all of their backs, and who walks in to sit in the lone empty chair? Eris.
Was not expecting it.
Was not expecting that at all. At all. I was shocked.
I was like on Moore's level of, wait, Trail, what the fuck?
The guy that not only we heard about what Moore did, but not only just a few chapters ago was trying to kill Feyre.
Right?
Like,
I mean, Cassian put a sword through his gut.
What is also, god damn it. It was one of those funny things where I was like, oh damn. Was it too much to think that this motherfucker was dead? Because Cassian didn't mortally wound him enough.
Didn't fatally wound him.
Yes. So yeah, Eris just strolls in, whistling, and sits down in the kid chair. I think all of the women listening to this were all upset.
Yeah.
Well, because not only was Moore blindsided, but Feyre was too. She didn't know about this.
She's like, wait, Rhys, what are you doing?
Yeah, like Rhys and Az were the only people who knew. Oh my god.
And Azriel's like really tense, of course, because he feels Moore's reaction.
She's like looking at them both like, did you do?
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it from her eyes. The two men who hurt her the most in this world are in the same room together.
As allies.
And they have to work with them. Obviously, Moore is understandably hurt by this surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's at least good that, like, I mean, if you think back on it, when they were talking about going, Rhys is like, you don't have to go, you know. And Moore's like, I'm gonna go, of course.
Well, she has to.
Right. So it's like, what if she had decided that she wouldn't go? Then she would have found out another way and been betrayed that way. So it's like, I mean, she would have been betrayed anyway. At least she was here when it happened, I guess.
It's bad and good, but like right now it's really bad.
It's really bad.
So the last time Eris was here was 500 years ago when they were betrothed. So basically, Rhys is offering, because remember before, the reason that Moore was betrothed to Eris in the first place was that Keir wanted ties with Autumn. So Rhys, this is where all the politicking comes into play, which is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Again, a book that's called Aka War would make me think that there's more fighting, but honestly, I kind of like this.
Mm.
Maybe it's the political background in me, but I really like this interesting.
That does make sense for you.
Because I feel like wars are fought more with talking at first than with the actual violence.
Yeah, it's very much of a battle fought on multiple fronts.
Yes, very much so. So Rhys is offering up an alliance between Autumn and the Court of Nightmares for his support.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enough for Keir.
Greedy bastard.
This guy's getting the Moonstone Palace and Autumn, and he still is like, well, what more?
Greedy fucking bastard.
Ew, but like Eris saying, I'd forgotten why I was so relieved when our bargain fell apart last time. It almost seems like Eris doesn't even want to be here. Eris doesn't want to work with Keir. I will go into this more at the end of this, but Eris is a little more of an interesting... he's a prick through and through. We hate him, but he's a little bit more interesting.
He has layers, at least.
Yes, than what we originally thought.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my god. He wants out. I want my people to be free of this mountain. It's not... That's bullshit, by the way. He doesn't want to be free. I think Moore knew. That's why Moore was so upset when the dinner happened, because Moore knew what Keir's asking price would be.
Yeah.
And she knew that Rhys would have to give it to him.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to access Valaris, because again, before, nobody knew about it, but when Hybern attacked, everybody now knows about it. So he wants to visit there. My first reaction? Hell no. I was like, oh no. No!
Don't do it.
Please. Didn't we make this mistake last time? Like saying, letting the queen see Valaris and then what happened?
Yeah.
And you know what? There was no benefit to doing that. Honestly, there was no benefit to showing them Valaris. The queen was going to give them the book anyway. So this is what's interesting about the war aspect in politics. Is his army worth it?
Right.
And apparently, since we don't really know much about the Darkbringers, I don't know if they're just as good as the Illyrians or if they're going to be that influential, but Rhys is obviously thinking that they're worth it.
But at what cost? Like, if you lose more, is that worth it?
So, I love how all of the women, including us, even though we're not in the room with them, are like, fuck no. And
We're just like, nah, fuck that.
Keir and the Court of Nightmares in Valaris would ruin it. It would ruin the whole atmosphere.
And like, Moore would be like constantly on edge of like, am I gonna run into him?
Well, also with Moore, Valaris has always been her safe spot, her safe space.
Yeah.
And for Keir to be able to either come and go as he pleases, or this level of him even having to have access to it, will take the city for her, even if she sees him there or not. She'll know that he's been there.
Yeah. Yeah. And he'll make a point of it, I can tell.
Because obviously he fucking hates his daughter. Also, the fucking foreshadowing of Rhys meeting with the Palace of Governors was something that went over all of our heads.
Yeah, but then, like, thinking back, it's like, wait a minute.
We see it.
Damn it, Rhys.
Well, yeah, it was kind of, but it made, SJM, so beautifully done. Makes it seem like it's nothing. Just meeting with these people. Like, it's like actually meant something.
Rhys.
So,
you're in a fine line right now, dude.
Rhys knew what Kyr's asking price was going to be, so he apparently took precautions. We don't really get to know what those are until, like, the next chapter, so we'll go into those when we get there, but he says it'll be limited access.
But how limited is limited?
Well, hey, if we know anything about bargains in this world, maybe Rhys-Ann can make a bargain that makes it so that there's, like, this sort of loophole with it.
Hopefully.
I anticipated this and took precautions. So Moore is about to, like... when Rhys says that, she's about to talk, and then Azrael lays a hand on her, which we haven't seen much of him being physical.
He always, like, tucks in his wings and tucks his whole body in, but, like, for him to, like, actually reach for her hand.
Oh, and she pulls it away.
She's
hot
like,
coals.
No, probably not like that. Not as intense as that. I'm just like,
it's more of a, like, no,
don't touch me.
So obviously Kyr's asking for unrestricted access. It's like, no.
It's like, okay, you should know, like, how far you can push Kyr.
Limited stays, because it doesn't really matter, because that's the thing. He doesn't want to be free or whatever the fuck he was talking about. He just wants access to something Moore has been treasuring for forever.
Yeah, he wants to hurt more.
Because he automatically says, he's like, done. There's no negotiating. There's no nothing. He got what honestly, he might not even want to go. But just knowing that he could go is like what is pissed. It's
what hurts her.
Yes. There was something I wanted to say. It was a quote that Feyre said, and I think it's potential foreshadowing. Maybe for the future, I don't know. Because again, not all the books are written, so obviously this is the third book, so obviously there are going to be some things that, for future reference, that might be important. I could almost hear it. The crack I knew was about to sound amongst our own circle. Is this going to be something that, obviously they temporarily put a band-aid over it, after this? But I wonder if this is going to be, like, actually a problem later on that's going to be one of those, okay, because it's wartime, we understand, but later on is going to cause more trouble? I wonder. It's obviously we don't know. It's sad. And I said this in my notes, girl, like what you said. What is asking price of dying in the war, though? Like, if they're thinking they're gonna die anyway, does it really matter who's gonna be able to access Valaris?
So in the moment, it makes sense, but it's still really frustrating.
Yes, and the worst part about it, Kyr doesn't even want to be free. He's happy where he is. This is about ruining the one place that Moore has been hers since leaving the Court of Nightmares. So, let's see here. He got the Moonstone Palace, he got fucking Eris's Alliance, and he got limited access to Valaris. He got the better deal here. He got the deal. Oh my god.
It's like, at this point, in the future, I wouldn't even be surprised if, Moore, like, spent less time in Valaris because she's so worried that Kyr is going to be there.
Right. So, nobody feels good about this. But, one more thing. We want the Ouroboros. See, I said it good that time. So, Kyr and Moore are both shocked because apparently nobody really knows that they have it. I feel like it's one of those, okay, they only know things. So he's like, how do you know about it?
Yeah.
There's no qualms. He's like, I'll give it to you as a mating present, ... if you can take it.
Yeah.
Okay, so blah, blah, blah. Legend claims that the people who have looked into the Ouroboros and faced whatever it is you see, they say everyone has either gone mad or broken beyond repair. Great.
Why is it sad, though? Like, when I was first reading that and it's like been beyond repair, my first thought was, well, Rhys and Feyre are already kind of broken, though.
Well, maybe that's the secret. Maybe if you already are, you can look into it and nothing will happen.
I thought that. I'm like, that's really sad.
Well, maybe that's the key. Maybe it is. Well, that kind of botches their plan. Honestly, but did they think they were going to, like, easily take it? It was either, to me, in a fantasy way, it was either going to be they had, like, some extraordinary adventure they'd need to get to it, or there'd be some big asking price for it.
Right. But it's like, give it for free as long as, like, you can physically take it with your spirit or whatever.
That's how confident he is that she can't.
Right.
So, that plan just got botched. Like, nobody can risk looking in that mirror now. No, they're all needed. Well, you know what's so stupid is I thought that with getting access to Valaris that the other deals wouldn't really matter, but no, he got everything.
Yeah, but supposedly, like, a stacking up, like, building, negotiating is, like, at first I thought it's like, okay, so you're just gonna go with the top thing. It's like, no, you get everything that's underneath it as well.
It's like those old fundraisers in high school when you had to, like, you know what I'm talking about? When you had to build tiers and shit and you got everything underneath.
Yep.
And then the limo ride at the end. Sorry, you didn't have limos up in the mountains.
No, we did not. And also, we had a tiny ass school. We weren't gonna have limos regardless of where we were.
Yeah, fair.
Honestly, my whole class could fit in a limo.
Sorry. Honestly, yeah, they could. Oh, hilarious. Okay. Anyway, digression. That's what it made me think. What you just said made me think of it made me think of that, so.
But I agree with the actual, like, building on top of tiers things, 100%.
So, Kier just, like, excuses his fucking ass, because, you know, of course he got what he wanted, and they don't really need him anymore. So, he leaves, and then they're alone with Eris. So, this is actually, we need to, like, beat by beat this, because there's a lot of shit we get given.
It's why there's so much, like, content in this section, like you said, pre-recording of, like, it's just a lot of talking.
Yeah, but it's also a lot of information, like, we didn't know before.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, Eris tries to talk to Moore right off the bat, and it's like, nope, you don't talk to her, Azrael said. So, basically, Baron doesn't know that Eris has been making deals with the Night Court. First of all, should we believe him? Probably not, but also, if you think about it, if Baron did know, Eris would be dead.
Right.
That we can believe.
Yeah.
So, hold up. Before, when Azrael went to, because after Feyre and Lucian were saved, Az went to the Autumn Court to know if Eris or the brothers saw that Feyre had her powers, because we learned from Lucian that if Baron knows about Feyre's powers, that he will not fight with them.
Yeah. He will immediately go to Hybern just to spite them.
So petty.
Yeah.
So when Az went to go check on them, he got caught by Eris.
Azrael getting caught?
I know, which makes me think, is Eris more powerful than we give him credit for?
Right. Does that mean he was holding back or something?
Or maybe because Eris knows Autumn better? Like, I mean, I could see that.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I guess I could see it if, because we learned that the forest house is massively huge. You know, Eris, being the oldest of Baron's sons, would definitely know his way around it. So, I mean, I don't think Azrael's the type necessarily to get lost, but if he's not as familiar with it as someone, he could totally be like, wait, where am I? Where am I going?
Maybe, but also Eris seemed like he already knew Azrael was going to come.
That's true.
Like, because I think Eris knows the Night Court really well, to an unfortunate extent. So what's interesting here is that his brother's memories got wiped, but not him, because he learned how to shield from Daemati powers. So he has kind of a pretty clear shield.
Yeah.
So basically, so it's like a bargain off a bargain, right?
Yeah.
Kier gets to make alliances with Eris, but Eris also, to ensure Baron's alliance to the war, he makes a devil's deal with Eris to keep Feyre's powers safe from his father's knowledge. Now, Moore and us, and like, Feyre, Moore, and us, the audience, kind of understand a little bit more why they made this deal. They still should have warned them, or warned one of them at least.
Right.
Especially her. Honestly, taking Feyre by surprise is one thing, but taking her more by surprise is... Because are they saying she couldn't handle it? I mean, obviously later they say it's because, like, she wouldn't have allowed it, but...
Right.
She's not really the person in power to make those decisions.
Right. I mean, technically, even if... I mean, we don't really pull rank in the Night Court. I said we. But, like, if we did, Moore is still, like, only third.
Yes. Technically, Rhys still has last say.
Yeah. He can veto or permit anything.
So, we still hate Eris, but he just got a little bit more interesting, because he doesn't seem to like his fathers or brothers at all.
Which is, like, it definitely seemed like he was a family guy, in a way.
And all the times when we saw him, yes.
And all the times we saw him, he, at least family in the sense of, like, he was loyal to his family. But in this sense, he's, like, going all these back ways to basically get rid of his family.
Right. Well, because what's interesting about when he says when they hunted down Feyre, he's like, the stupid bastard talking about his father doesn't understand that Feyre is probably the key to, like, saving them.
Right.
Which, honestly, good on him for making that, yes. Obviously, he seems to be the smartest one, but also, we still should be wary of him. I'm not saying we should accept and trust him. He's still a prick. But he seemingly has a soft spot for Lucian, which is not at all what Lucian has made it seem.
Right.
Because when he says well, there's like three things, okay? Let's start with the beginning. They have to, so not only is like the alliance thing happening, but when the time is right, the Night Court is to support Eris's bid for the throne.
Yes.
Which I never okay, can I just say I never understood that? Because it doesn't make sense, because doesn't the magic choose the High Lord? Like, it's not like this is one of those petitions where the next in line becomes the High Lord. Unless there's more we don't know about it.
I mean, that's a potential, but I think when I was trying to understand it, I thought it was like more along the lines of basically when Baron died, like helping make sure his brothers didn't get the throne, and that may be like by killing them or whatever, or something else that we don't understand, Or I thought about it as, you know, if Eris is picked by the magic, then supporting him and like helping convince the rest of Autumn or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely more that we don't know about, like the choosing process.
Gotta be.
Because again, like I said, at first it didn't make sense to me because I thought the magic chose, but we'll see.
And like, I think what you've brought up in the past of like how Tamlin doesn't have any partner or any heir or anything. So I definitely agree. There's more that we're not understanding from the magic picking
correct
or lady.
I mean, I think more often than not, it seems like it's somebody in their bloodline. I think normally, but I think it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a few things that he says here. He claims that the day more he's claiming not innocence, but he's saying there are more forces at work that she never considered when Moore got left in the woods that day. Would you like to elaborate?
Right.
That is so open-ended, and honestly, that seems like total BS, but there's something off about that. I'm not saying that I trust him, but what is there? What if there is something we don't know? I don't know. Like, I don't trust anything. And when Feyre brought up about how Lucian got hunted down, he said it was just an order.
Just an order?
Okay, that one's a little bit more BS. Like, okay, it was just an order to hunt them down.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Maybe this is semantics at this point, but I love it. Can you understand why there's a pause here? He says, and sent to do it. I was given an order and sent to do it with 2 of my ... brothers. I wonder why there's a pause there. Like, is he trying to say if it's in the sense that they're not really kin? Not that they're like not related at all, but that he doesn't really see them as brothers?
I think that's probably the most likely one, or that could be what Sarah's trying to make us think. I feel like, honestly, part of me wonders if he really wasn't one of Baron's children.
Do you think so?
I don't know. I mean,
he looks the most like him.
I mean, that's true. Or what if Lady of Autumn is not his mother? So in some way or another, those, like, his brothers are not actually his brothers by blood. Which is why he needs support from the Night Court, just because he actually has that fear of not, like, becoming High Lord, because he's not actually blood related to the High Lord.
Interesting.
That just popped into my mind, so I'm not sure.
Well, because the writing is important, though. We might be overanalyzing it, but why put an ellipsis there?
Right.
That seems very random.
It does. It's like he's not sure if he should call them brothers, or maybe they're fakes.
They're fakes.
They're fakes.
But going on, Feyre is like ticking off everything he's done. But when she brings up Jasminda, he immediately gets angry. He's like on the defensive. He said, none of you were there. None of you know what happened. I mean, he's sort of right. All the thing that we get is from Lucian's thing, and we don't really get who was there.
Right. We just know that, like, Lucian was held back.
By his brothers.
From what we've been told. But what if these are the same ... brothers?
He didn't say which brothers. So Eris is claiming that he wasn't there that day that Lucian's lover was killed. And he claims to have helped Lucian get over the spring border and call for aid from Tamlin. He said it was the first time he denied his father anything and was punished for it.
I am curious about what that punishment was, but he seems to, like, loathe Lucian, though, so why?
Well, because remember, the Lady of Autumn likes him best, it seems.
That's true. And so
that's his favorite.
Like, Eris is, at least in all of his, like, shaming of his family or, like, loyal or whatever, he does seem very protective of his own mother.
Yes.
So it's like, maybe, I mean, at first when I read it, my thought was that Eris just wanted less competition for the throne, and that, like, maybe having Lucian be out of the Autumn Court would mean that he wouldn't be possible, or some flawed logic like that.
I guess in that way, if he wasn't a part of the Autumn Court, like, he wouldn't really be a threat to him.
Right. And it's like, okay, I can't kill him, though, because my mother loves him so much.
Or what if we're going off of your logic, what if he's the Autumn Lady's son, but not the king's?
Right.
What if in that way?
So then it's like, okay, so my mother loves this child the most. I'm gonna help him get out of here.
I also think it's a typical oldest to younger sibling situation where, like, he hates him for being kind of like the one that's dawdled and doesn't have any responsibility in terms of the shit that he is expected or that is expected of him. But he also knows that Lucian seems to be like the better of them.
Right. And it does seem like, I think there's a difference in like sibling rivalries in that sense. You know, when you think of, well, I guess in some like fairy tale type stories, stories, fantasy stories, you know, there's like two princes or whatever. Usually there's like some kind of level of disconnect because it's like one is crown prince and one is the younger one or something like that. But I think there's a difference when there's more than just two princes. And that's when it usually shows that the oldest tends to dote on the youngest in some way or another.
Right. And what's interesting about this situation, it seems, he said, because from our point of view, it seemed like Jasminda was the only one that was targeted. But Eris is claiming that Lucian was going to get killed too. Which that doesn't make a lick of sense.
No.
So we shouldn't necessarily feel bad for him, but maybe there's more we don't know. He's still a bastard. Like,
regardless, he's a dick.
He's a dick, but he's kind of interesting. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I love how, though, if he's funny, I'll give him that. He has some funny moments. Eris thinks they should just kill Baron and be done with it, and then he's like, I can send troops right now. It's like tempting, but that'll just make it seem like we're trying to win people to our fate. It'll make us look worse than we already look.
It's true. Reese coming in with the logic.
It's like, oh, damn. Well,
there goes that plan.
So now we really understand why Reese and Azrael did it, but at the same time, it still sucks. I don't want to agree with Eris here, but I'm going to agree with him. He says dead on that Moore shows everything on her face to her own detriment when it comes to her father, which is true.
It is.
But then when he says afterward, he's like, so when you fuck the bastard, it's like, oh, okay, now we're taking again. Shockingly, he says he understands. He understands why she slept with Cassian, and he says he never would have touched her against her will.
Why do I kind of believe that, though?
Yeah, dude, I hate to say it too, but he has nothing to gain from this. He has nothing to gain by saying this. He already got what he wanted. It's not like he needs to sweeten them up anymore. Is it maybe to... I don't know.
I don't know.
I really want to hear his side of things.
Yeah.
Just to hear it. Whether or not we believe it or not, that's one thing. Just to hear what he has to say. Because, verbatim, he says, so I gave you your freedom, ending the betrothal in no uncertain term. Well, okay, that's bad. There are a few things I regret. That is one of them. But, ... perhaps one day, now that we are allies, I shall tell you why. What it cost me.
I feel like, I mean, obviously that sounds like another, like, punishment. You know, he was punished for helping Lucian over the border. He was punished for helping Moore, or leaving Moore.
Maybe his dick got cut off. Maybe they castrated him. I don't know.
Oof.
I'm trying to think of like what a male like him would actually be worth losing. You know, maybe. I mean, that's kind of far-fetched, but you know. Well, but the reason that is because he kind of reminds me of Rhysand a little bit because of the way it's worded. Because remember the night on Calanmai, Rhys tells Feyre how much it cost him to go out on Fire Night. He says it like almost the exact same way. You don't know what it cost me.
Right. That is true.
Also, any time that there's a character who's kind of morally gray, who's just kind of a prick, but there's more to him than what it seems. So I'm not going to necessarily trust him, but I kind of believe him.
Yeah. I think that's good to make that distinction.
Yes.
Of like, you don't trust him, but you could potentially believe him.
We don't forgive him or condone what he's done.
And we definitely don't forget.
No, but he's still a prick. But, you know, if he's useful right now, then hell.
Take all the help you can get, guys.
It's wartime, unfortunately. What's worse? Allying with Eris for a short time or dying in the war? You know, it's kind of a toss-up, man. So, hell yeah, see you at the meeting in 12 days. 12 days? Shit, this thing's coming up like real fast.
It's like, wow, okay, we're already there.
Right?
That's less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, this is happening real fast. I kinda forgot.
Yeah.
So, I knew they were gonna have a big confrontation when they get back, but this is wild. So, obviously, Feyre's monologuing, Nesta and Amren come back. None of them can really afford to go mad by looking into a mirror, so the Bone Carver sent them on this impossible task.
Yeah.
Should they really worry about that right now? Probably not. I felt like that was gonna be something that came up later.
Probably.
It's like, bring it up at the beginning of the book and then put it to the side until like the very last possible moment.
Right.
So they all meet up back in the townhouse, and this is where shit gets real.
Yeah. It's like, we haven't really seen a type of argument like this before.
At least where all of them are kind of getting pissed.
Yeah.
Like, usually there's one person.
And it's certainly, like, at least, like, from Feyre's point of view, we haven't really seen Rhys get mad at his inner circle.
Yeah. Cassian and Lucian are in the foyer waiting for their return. It's kind of cool that Lucian's with them, though. Like, I mean, yeah, they're all living in the townhouse. So obviously more right off the bat. Why?
Cassian and Lucian are like, wait, what?
And she immediately starts crying, too. Eris found Azriel, her hands were tied. Why didn't you say anything? Yeah, I think they made a bad call by not telling her.
Like, not giving her any time to prep?
Yeah, because that was kind of a blindset. That made it seem like she was weak.
Mm-hmm.
That she couldn't handle it.
Or that she had no idea what was happening. Because, she was, as Eris said, she unfortunately wears her emotions. So it's like when he came in and, when Kiara was there, looking back and forth, really confused and stuff, like that exposed her as not knowing what's happening.
Which I think they kind of wanted that to happen, though, so that they'd get more, so Kier maybe, because of the surprise would have satisfied him, maybe, and he wouldn't have asked for much.
Yeah.
Maybe.
There's another gamble. Rhys is, constantly gambling.
This one did not work.
No.
Well, it worked on one front, but not on the other. Also, Rhys, tells all of them mind to mind, Amren, Nesta, even Nesta, and Lucian, what happened, so that they get the context.
Yeah.
Cassian is not happy. It's Cassian and Mora on one side, and Azriel and Rhys are on the other.
Yeah. And then Amren and Favor in the middle.
Yeah. They're trying. Favor's trying to, but there's not really much she can do.
Right. I was not expecting the contents of this argument, though.
No. I love how Cassian, you should have spiked Eris's fucking head to the front gates. Even Lucian's so what's so funny is Lucian pops up and he's like, yeah, Eris is a snake. It's I don't think you really have a room to talk right now because we're getting conflicting reports. Amren, your whole family's despicable. Fair.
It's okay, you want to pipe up, then you're gonna get roasted too.
But even Amren knows that Eris could prove useful.
Yeah, useful at least.
So, but Moore's right. It's not about Eris. Honestly, in this whole thing, that's probably the least she's concerned about.
Mm-hmm, least of her worries.
It's about Valaris. This is my home, and you're going to let Kier destroy it. So basically what Rhys says is that when he met with the governors, they're not going to allow anybody to serve anybody from the Court of Nightmares, and they'll push them out. Which, okay, I'm not saying I don't disagree with, but what if there's maybe some women in the Court of Nightmares who, good people, Moore was.
Happen to have been dreamers too. And now that they're allowed out, this is giving them an opportunity to move.
I think that's kind of Kier's point, playing at it. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't think he'd let any woman out there.
That's true.
He'd want to keep them safe where they didn't get ideas. Oh my god. I will say, and I will say something that the reason I brought up the whole thing about what Feyre said about the court splitting up. There's not a full transparency with the inner circle like she thought at first. And it seems like that could cause problems down the road. Because I'm not saying that everybody needs to tell everybody their feelings, but I think I like how imperfect they are. Because before, Mist and Fury, it made it seem like they're the best unit. Well, they are, but a perfect unit. But the thing is, they're far from it.
Yeah. They were. I almost said they're humans. They're just normal, living beings after all. They each have their own flaws.
But I think this is kind of Rhys's trigger to not feel like he's taking on everything anymore, because when he does that and doesn't tell anybody about it, it just causes more strife. Yeah, it just causes more problems, which I feel like down the road is going to be an issue. So I think we need to keep that in the back of our minds. Mm-hmm. But Moore is right. Even if they're not allowed to eat or go anywhere, they'll still have access to the streets.
Right.
They could cause problems. They could kill people. We don't know.
Yeah.
They'll destroy the place.
At least destroy any semblance of peace and safety that Moore has created for herself.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, but she kind of does take it a little bit too far, which happens in arguments.
Yeah.
She's like, if Amarantha were alive, it's oh shit.
It's wow. And
if
it almost feels like when she says it, she's like, if Amarantha were alive, and then a beat of silence, and then did I really just go there? Okay, I went there. I'm going to keep going.
I'm going for it. If she were alive and I offered to work with her, even if it was to save us all, how would you feel? It's makes it, what is the price? What is the boundary that they're going to push for possible peace?
Right. Also, I have this whole last part of this conversation about Amarantha highlighted. Just the fact of never have they discussed what happened. It's that doesn't seem healthy.
Yeah, they haven't ever really brought up her name. They have, that first dinner in Akamath where they were talking about Under the Mountain. Mm-hmm. I think they're more willing to talk about it, but yes, they don't really seem to talk about it too much. Mm-hmm. Or haven't really talked about it in a group. Maybe talk about it individually with each other.
Right.
It's ooh. Also, Rhys's reaction. If Amarantha offered us a slim shot of survival, then I would not give a shit that she made me fuck her for all those years. The whole room flinched.
Yeah.
I would thank the fucking cauldron.
Wow.
Honestly, none of us believe that. And even later he says that he doesn't. Like, he lied.
It's like, Moore's like, you don't mean that. And he's like, I do.
He's trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
That even though... Also, it seems... Okay, Amarantha and Kier are kind of different. I'm not saying that they both didn't do... It's not like somebody did one more heinous thing than the other.
Yeah.
Kier is actually giving them something and is a little bit more sane than Amarantha was. Amarantha was just a pure villain who wasn't going to, like... There was no negotiating. There was no talking. Like, Feyre sees them kind of split and she doesn't really know what to do. But good old Yas Queen, I snapped when I was listening to this. I, snapped and I was like, yes, Queen, pushes through them, steps in. Amarin. Yeah. I love her. Because I know we talk so much about Moore and Cassian and Azriel, but she is a key part of their unit.
Yeah.
Even if we don't really interact with her as much, and she kind of, especially in the last book, she was in her apartment looking over the Book of Breathings. Like, she wasn't necessarily interacting with them. She is key.
I do like what she says here. I kept this unit from breaking for 49 years. It's like, I guess that would kind of make sense, though, that, her being second, with Rhys gone, she would take over charge of leading and, doing all that stuff. But it's like, I hadn't considered that of, how they functioned without Rhys for those 49 years.
Yeah, she stepped up to plate. I appreciate her.
Yeah.
But I love how she personally promises to Moore. Working with Kier is not forgiving them. She's like, when the war is over, I'll hunt them down with you if you want, but I will not let your father poison this city. I will not allow him to.
She's a queen.
It's two powerful women helping each other and being like, hey, calm down. We're not going to let this happen.
Yeah.
The boys might do whatever the fuck they want to do. We're not going to let it happen.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, and if you have a time where it's too much for you, then I will not let that happen.
Yes, I will go hunt them down after this war is over to kill them.
Yeah.
And she's right. Working with them does not mean forgiving them. That's just a problem with war. But she immediately looks to Rhys and she's just like, you're a sneaky bastard. You made the right call, played it well, but you also played it badly. He turns into a little boy though. He's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, okay. I love how Feyre this whole time is holding his hand.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the strength at his side. I appreciate that because it goes back to what he said last book about how he's always had to do this stuff alone.
Yeah.
And even though Feyre probably agrees with Amren that the wrong call was made, she's still supporting him by being there with him.
Right.
I feel like she's being mate right now. She's not being high lady.
Right.
It's switching hats, man. It's finding out when to switch your hat and when to be who.
Yeah.
And then I went, oh fuck, because Amren just diffused the situation, and then Cassian has to go and ruin it.
Cassian!
He shouldn't have asked about the mirror in front of Amren. Of course she would know, because how the fuck would they know about that mirror?
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you went to go see the bone carver, didn't you?
Oh my god. Yes, Cassian. What happened with the mirror? Kier says it's mine if I dare to take it. So Moore is correct. Moore backtracks and said, yes, my father spoke true. Amren, you're talking about the Ouroboros. You went to the prison. Oh shit. Okay, so if tonight's about honesty...
It's like, shit.
I get that Cassian's kind of trying to defuse the situation, but I think now is not the time to say your old friends miss you.
Your old friends say hello, and it's like, not the time, Cass.
It's like, oh shit. It kind of sucks though that Lucien he excuses himself from the room.
Too much for Lucien.
Well, she doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to talk about the secrets of the prison to him, and honestly, he doesn't really deserve to know.
Yeah, that's true. He hasn't quite earned it.
It's also really none of his business. It doesn't none of this will matter to him anyway? Question mark. So regardless, he just excuses himself from the room, and I kind of like how now Cassian is standing up to Amren and telling her everything.
Yeah.
Kind of giving Feyre a break talking.
Yeah.
Amren knows. She already knows. She's like, you're gonna try to free him. It is impossible. So obviously Amren starts to get a little bit, fairly, a little bit upset.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that she's getting blindsided by this too. And sorry, I hate to feel like she's getting cornered because it very much feels like that's what's going on here.
It does, especially with how, I love the description of how everyone is, suddenly on guard.
Cassian moves next to Nesta, is shielding Nesta, Rhys is shielding Feyre. Why are they so afraid? Okay, I agree. Amren is someone to readily be afraid of, but why are they so wary of her? It's not like she's just gonna kill them right here, unless that they think that that's a possibility, or if that's just males being males.
Right, protective. Although I was pleasantly surprised to see Cassian just do like his general head tilt and Nesta obeyed.
Yeah, dude, Feyre was like, wait, she
Nesta,
listened to him?
Obeyed.
Oh my god. But I think Amren deserves like enough respect. I feel like this is way being cornered.
Yeah.
But how else were they gonna get the information? I don't know.
And she does try and refuse at first. And Rhys is like, it is not a request.
It is an order. So Rhys brings up the bargain again. He says that if she tells them how she got out, she's still free to send herself back home to her other world if she wants to, using the book. I will say, girl, I wonder why Azriel seems so frightened of her. His shadows are all like bolstered up and he has his knife out.
Yeah, which was not something I caught like early on, like in the first read. I didn't catch that.
Being wary and cautious of her is one thing, but to have the knife out at her is like a completely other thing.
Although the fact Amren's like, call off your dog.
It makes me feel like he doesn't trust her at all.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know, is that going to cause trouble? I don't know. I feel like I see more red flags of potential problems in their dynamic than I did the first time.
Yeah.
Because obviously, remember from last book, he spies on her with the twins.
Right.
Like, Maul and Caradwyn are his spies that watch over for her. I just wonder why he is. And I mean, Amren explained it last time. She said that he'll never fully trust me, which I guess kind of answers the question.
Yeah.
But
way more on edge than you would think, though.
Yeah. Yeah, because pulling his knife out on her is like a completely other thing.
Yeah. And the fact that Rhys doesn't order Az to stand down, though, and, you know, Cass pulls Ness closer, and it's just like, wow, they are terrified of her.
Honestly, Nesta doesn't really balk from him. I think she's just doing what Cassian wants, but she ends up talking to her anyway.
Right. Although, I will laugh at the fact when Cass is like, he like grabs her skirts to make sure she's still there, and she just peeks over his shoulder.
Yeah. His big, broad chest.
No, his big broad shoulders, but sure. I know you're looking for the chest.
Okay. Like,
Meanwhile, I'm just obsessed with Shadow Boy over there.
Yeah, your guy is off the rails right now.
I mean, I have it highlighted just because the shadow in the corner behind Amren, that was Azriel.
It was just like a big fucking, But I think the difference between this isn't really a corner. It's more of a, we've known each other for so long. Why don't you want to tell us?
Right.
What are you so afraid of?
Right.
So obviously Amren brings up a good point, honestly. Like the Bone Carver tells us it all the time. She says the wind and earth carry words, which obviously it does because the Bone Carver heard Nesta's name from across the sea. It kind of seems a death goddy thing to say, or like an immortal thing to say.
Like a prison thing. Obviously,
I don't think Amren's a death god, the Weaver and the Bone Carver, but she's definitely like a true immortal. And she says that in here.
And she was in the prison for a reason, probably. So
carrying on, she's afraid that if she says how she got out, prison will remember her because apparently somehow the prison does not remember who she is and that they did not catch her and that she's gone and that it will try to find her again and force her to go back. I mean, obviously that would scare anybody.
Yeah.
So Rhys puts a big shield around them, so I guess this will work?
Sure. I mean, most powerful High Lord, a shield from him would work, right?
I think so. Because there's no wind. Actually, that's an interesting detail that I didn't remember when reading this the first time, is that like when they put that shield up, there's no wind. So that kind of makes sense. So the wind can't hear them, so they can't tell it to others. So we finally get how Amren got out of the prison. Finally.
Yeah.
I had to give something up. I had to give me up. To walk out, I had to become something else entirely. Something the prison would not recognize. So I bound myself into a body. So apparently before she's told others that somebody bonded her into a body, but apparently she did it herself. She's like, I lied. So to escape the prison, she made herself mortal. Kind of like the Bone Carver, who is a true immortal versus the Fae are mortal to them. I fucking love this girl. I love this so much. So Amren talks about how she was before, how she was in her old self. Is it kind of a coincidence that they just talked about with the Bone Carver about the immortals being true immortals and she also is a true immortal? That's a little bit of a coincidence.
But it feels like a true immortal in a different way.
Yes. Maybe all the things in the prison are true immortals, and that's why they're bound there forever.
Ugh, that's scary.
She said that in her old self, she did not feel the full spectrum of emotions. No pain, no regret. It was very much a soldier-esque mentality.
Yeah.
It seems like she was one of many creatures because she said she had a bunch of brothers and sisters.
Imagine a bunch of, what if they're like all short like her and they're all like running around? A bunch of short Male and female Amrins.
Oh god, everybody would be afraid.
Yeah.
So, and it's interesting because as we're going beat by beat through the story, because even me and Liesl don't know what half this shit means.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is kind of still up in the air for what's going on.
Yeah.
So Amren obviously had brothers and sisters, and they had one main ruler. They destroyed, so when the rift opened to go into Prithian, they were like just getting done destroying a place of twin cities. But yeah, so she destroyed a place of twin cities wherever she was. So when the rift opened, everybody fled, but she went towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was feeling things like curiosity, stuff that she wasn't supposed to feel. Because apparently bad things happened to her kind when they felt things that quote unquote selfish emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So
funny how she risked having like one emotion, and then now she has a bunch of emotions.
Yeah, it ended up in Prithian. So she says, I yielded my grace, my perfect immortality. I would feel pain, so she would feel, then she'd all feel all these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I would burn with it. I would fall. But I was the time locked away down there. I didn't care. I didn't remember the sun, and I didn't feel the wind on my face. So when they bring up things like a fall of grace and shoving grace into, that makes me think she's an angel of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
Like an angel of death or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're thinking like an army of, I don't know, that's just what it makes it seem like. Anytime you see grace, specifically that word, it makes it seem like it's an angel thing. I've watched too much Supernatural for that to be the case.
Sounds pretty biblical.
Yeah, very much so.
Didn't catch that at any point because I'm not religious in any sense.
Well, we need to get you watching Supernatural though, because
that's on my list.
I know. So she stuffed her grace into this fae body, which is why her eyes are silver, because that's her grace popping out. And so the prison didn't recognize the fae body because, she was whatever before. So technically, because she yielded a part of herself that wasn't that other creature anymore, of course there was no reason for her to be locked up.
I suppose, but I guess I wonder if, because the prison is like sealed, it's like locked to Reese's blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess I didn't really consider if they like need blood to get in, but do they need blood to get out?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a, from the way I understood, like this made sense to this, like the door just kind of opening, because if it's based on magic and it's based on identifying power, then it'd be understandable if there was some sort of loophole to be like, oh, well, I'm not the Jedi you're looking for, kind of like phase on the prison.
Right.
Something like that. That kind of made sense. Because if she's not really a threat anymore in her other form, then why would she need to be locked up? Or it's like it's bound to the person, and if that person is not who they say they are anymore, then it's like they're locking in somebody that's not supposed to be there.
Right. Or, yeah, I guess kind of along the same lines of it's locked specifically to whatever Amren was, and now that she's not anymore, it's like, I mean, we have a missing prisoner now, but whoever you are, you can go.
I think the blood for Reese is like to get in and out.
Yeah.
And to open doors in the prison, not to open cages, which, because even he said that he doesn't even open the cages. Once somebody's sentenced there, they're sentenced there for life. There's nothing he can do about it.
Right.
It's like the prison takes over then. It's kind of like the prison is a will of itself.
Right.
But anyway, prison doesn't recognize her. They apparently have to make the Carver become, like the Carver has to yield his immortality and become Fae, which doesn't seem like something he'd be willing to do. Even Amren said that. She's like, he's not going to want to do that. So Reese does ask a pretty important question. He says, can you be unbound? She said, not by me. I love how she looks each of them in the eye, even Nesta. She said, I would not remember you. I would not care for any of you. I would either smite you or abandon you. What I would feel now, it would feel foreign to me. She says, everything I am, this body, it would cease to be.
So we would lose Amren.
So basically kind of essentially killing herself.
Yeah. Killing herself to be reborn into her original form.
Yeah, and she, apparently that creature didn't care for anybody.
So we would lose Amren.
Yes. That's not great. No. I don't really think she wants to be unbound. I mean, not really.
I mean, she can still use her powers, like from the attack on Valaris. She can clearly still use, like, to an extent, some of her powers. And, I think despite her sometimes cold exterior, she loves the inner circle. They're her family.
Well, because
she said one that she didn't have before if she was just an emotionless soldier.
She she seemed like she was already different beforehand, like that she already felt emotions before, and this is like who she really was meant to be anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of like a fate thing.
Yeah.
I do want to bring up what she calls herself, though. So obviously we don't get like a creature name, but she said she was a messenger and a soldier assassin for a wrathful god who ruled a young world. A young world? Like a baby world? Like, like a newly built world, I'm assuming?
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
Oh, God. That's so interesting, because I feel like we don't know squat, bro.
But even like similar to the old gods that they mentioned, like ruled the Prithian before, of like it's an old god, and maybe like one of the old gods went off to another world, or the old gods from the other world came to Prithian.
Maybe Kosechi is her wrathful god.
Interesting.
I doubt it, but like that's just an interesting. It could be anybody. It could be any god.
There's so many theories at this point.
But this is what I mean by like, even though this is the third book and there's 2 more books, there is still jack squat that we know about things. So even though we know like 2 more books of information more than y'all who are reading this at the time, we still don't know a lot. So we're all kind of in the same ballpark here.
Yeah.
But moving on. Amryn was never her name. She can't remember her name, but she chose a name. It's kind of a long story, but she doesn't say it. I kind of want to know how she got her name.
Yeah, me too.
But it's interesting. Elaine comes down the stairs, which shocks everybody because she's out and about, which didn't seem like she was doing that before.
It did make me laugh, though, because I remembered the shield just before I actually read it, and so she didn't hear any of them down there.
Yeah, because I think she thought, oh, girl, this goes into like our assumption, because, okay, I don't have anything to prove this 2 books wise or otherwise, so guys, bear with me. Elaine, I'm uneasy about her.
Yes.
Because why is she up and about in the middle of the night? Was she going to do something? Was she going to go somewhere? I'm very curious.
It definitely feels like the kind of thing of like, okay, I don't hear anyone downstairs. No one else is up. So I'm going to blah, 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 or whatever. It's like, okay, no one's awake. I'm going to move.
I feel like she's too innocent to not for something to be more than what meets the eye about her.
Yeah.
Though I really don't understand why they all just assume she's crazy. She's obviously hearing something. She's seeing something. She's hearing something. With them being like however old they are.
They can't be this dumb about it.
Is it just because she's Elaine and they're like, oh, maybe it's... Okay, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt of the whole cauldron thing that they don't really know. But even us as seasoned vets of fantasy are just like, you have to listen to her. So as she makes her way down, obviously they let the shield down.
Azriel.
I know, immediately steps forward. I think I was dreaming. I'm always dreaming these days.
I mean, that's okay.
I want to take this verbatim, what she said, because obviously, again, it's kind of gibberish, but I can hear her crying. Everyone thinks she's dead, but she's not. Only different. Changed as I was. Pause. Changed as I was makes me think thrown in the cauldron. If we're thinking of it as automatically the same thing. Like, if we're taking her words verbatim how they are instead of trying to like find some other meaning to them. Changed how she was being thrown into the cauldron. Do I know what that means? No. But somebody else got shifted apparently.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking of like changed as I was of like changed from a mortal to immortal by some dark power.
I guess that's inherently what I'm saying too, that like they were changed from immortal to mortal, but changed as she was exactly.
Yeah.
But what's funny about this is that like they're all looking up to her on the stairs and she's like slowly backing up as she's talking to them.
She's like, I wasn't going out.
I saw young hands wither with age. I saw a box of black stone. I saw a feather of fire land on snow and melt it. It was angry. It was so angry that something was taken. So it took something from them as punishment. So they scream crazy, which, God, they're all dumb for this.
Yeah.
I thought this when I first read this too, and I was like, okay, something else is happening here. I don't know. Something else is happening here.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's seeing multiple things at once. I don't think it's one thing. I don't think that they are connected.
Right. They're all like crashing together.
Yes, it's all gibberish because she's going from like, okay, saw withering hands to a black box to feather on snow.
Yeah.
Which the feather on snow, that makes us think about the firebird that she brought up before.
Yeah, the feather of fire land on snow and melt it. Definitely the firebird, like the firebird's coming or whatever.
Or like snow. Because the thing is, we don't really know about terrain-wise because because the thing about the map, it's not like we know where is snowy weather.
Right.
We don't really know where this thing would be. Is this trying to say that it's kind of a Game of Thrones thing? Winter is coming? Is that just supposed to be foreshadowing of it's on its way here? Or what?
Or is it like something like visible of what we do know of, like mountains at least have a lot of snow? So it's like, is there a firebird in the mountains?
Is it in the Night Court? Because that's the only place that we know where like a snowy mountain is. Or the Winter Court, maybe?
Or that winter range.
And then the last thing about it being angry, something took it as punishment. Honestly, the first time reading this, I kind of just zoned it out. I was like, I feel like I'll know about it when I know.
And then you'll like get to it later and you're like, wait a minute, go back.
This makes sense. So obviously I thought so the things I just said that we know about that kind of coincide with what she's been saying before.
Yeah.
I brought up, but honestly, everything else I'm like, all right, lit. Like, good. I don't really know what to say with that, but let's just go with that.
And it seems like Asriel's the only one not thinking that she's crazy.
Honestly, yes. But what a motherfucker for just winning away right away. Because what did he go do? What did he do?
Mm-hmm.
What did she say that triggered him to do something?
It's like
I don't know.
He studied her, and then he just went away.
Also, I think he was running away too, because like the conversation was ending, and so let's not have this confrontation with Moore right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
He definitely was running. So obviously she goes up to bed again, Elaine, and everybody kind of checks out. Amryn goes home, Moore goes away, Rhys and Cassian are talking to each other, filling each other out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Feyre checks in with Nesta. Okay, well, what happened to you guys at the Hewn City? Did it go well?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently not. Amryn taught her to look for the weaknesses in magic and try to repair it, but Nesta failed every time. But like, what are we gonna expect from her? Like,
never done anything before.
She's not inept at her power. It took like Feyre a long time to figure it out. And even now she's still learning stuff.
Like legit, Nesta's been Fae for like just over a month.
But I mean, she's beating herself up, but at the same time, like, I mean, I'm not saying that Feyre's like, ugh, you couldn't get it. She's not acting like that. There's a level of, I mean, were they going to expect that this was going to just happen?
Right. I'm sure there's probably some level in Nesta's mind of, I think there's some level where she's beating herself up of like, you guys were kind of expecting something from me, but also I'm going to beat myself up because I was expecting something from me. So I think there's probably some level of that. But of course, Nesta cuts everything off. Like, she keeps everything inside, so she's not going to say anything like that.
Well, maybe it's a sense where, I don't know, maybe this is something you can't prepare for. Like, if the wall is something in and of itself, maybe she'll just know what to do when she gets there, and it's kind of like, there's not really a way to prepare.
Right.
Like, maybe that's the case, I don't know. Though, they don't need her constant bullshit, okay? I love hate Nesta, but at the same time, it's like, okay, we don't need you to have a temper tantrum right now. It's like, so no, it didn't go right. It's like, okay. Also, Feyre's trying to have an honest conversation with her about Elaine, like, hey, we need to do something. We need to have her see somebody, or we need to figure out something.
Mm-hmm.
And she's, let your mate go into her mind. It's like, what is that gonna do? That's not how that works. Ooh, I love, love, love this quote. Everything has a cost. Maybe the cost of her youth and immortality was losing part of her sanity. So then Nesta's cost is seeing Elaine suffer while she's going away unscathed. Which I honestly don't think is true, because if her powers are so great, like she's saying, I feel like her cost is that her power is so overpowering that kind of like Rhys's, where it's like too great of a power that having to deal with it is kind of the cost of having it. So I think that's bullshit what she's saying, but like the second part of it.
Yeah.
But it is a Nesta move to be like, okay, Elaine is suffering. Yes.
Focus on Elaine, not me.
God, I'm like eye rolling so bad. It's not that I like loathe Elaine or anything. It's more just, God, they baby her so much. They baby her to the extent of where it's just too much for me.
It's almost like they're not letting her do anything herself, so she's not going to learn anything.
Which makes me think if she's the middle child, then she's fucking mischievous as hell, and she's doing things on her own.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think that.
Yeah.
So they have an idea. What if, Lucian finally comes back down the stairs to see her again, and Nesta just pushes past him on the stairs?
Yeah.
So they come up with her and Lucian come up with an idea. Okay, we'll have Maja, the healer that Azriel, Cassian after Highburn come in and look her over. You know, there's no hurt in it. It won't hurt to do it, is what I mean.
Right, and Maja seems like a competent healer. Seems like a competent healer.
She's like the nice old woman.
Yeah, who will also like snap at you and honestly is an Alice character. That's what I'm feeling.
Honestly, I love how Lucian and Azriel are the only people that are like thinking that she's not crazy. Because even Lucian here is like, I think she went through something horrible and she's trying to make do with it.
The mate and the love rival.
Yeah, honestly.
Not even the sisters.
Yeah, just one sister. Of course, one of the sisters had to be in a love triangle, because I think the other ones have safely, I feel like they've bonded to, I mean, even though Nesta's fighting it, it seems like they found their person. One of them had to be in a love triangle. And if you count her betrothed, then that's a quadrangle, I think.
A square.
Yeah, a love square. We don't count him. He's human. Oh, God. Okay, I will say something about Sarah's writing that at this point in my notes I really liked. I don't know. How do I say this? It's so cool that Sarah has such a quick style of writing, but like it's not too much quick. It's like diverting from the next thing to the next shitty thing. Because I had a thought to myself, do any of us remember what Lucian said all those weeks ago? No, we don't. Like, Lucian is just a part of their unit right now, and we don't really care about all those things he said 2 weeks ago. She does a really perfect job of, I don't know, I don't want to say moving on. I like knowing what they've done beforehand, but everything is happening so much in rapid succession that it's like, we can't really worry about the shit that happened 2 weeks ago. I love it. I honestly love this style of writing. Yeah. So it's like bygones be bygones. So yes, Maja is coming to their house tomorrow morning. And of course, at the end of this scene, I love this little scene with Feyre and Rhys kind of trying to face their own demons a little bit. Feeling very, very heavy with guilt.
I mean, good that he's feeling guilty for what happened with Moore and everything. And the whole thing with Amryn. Good at that he's at least like understanding that he should feel guilty for that. Yeah. My thought is like, dude, like part of me wonders if you would feel as guilty if you weren't on a suicide track. Like if you weren't trying to do all of this stuff on your own.
Well, honestly, the stuff that happened tonight actually proved his point. Which is not a good point, but you can kind of see why he understands why he feels like he needs to take everything, because seeing Moore cry and Amryn feeling like she's cornered is hard. Yeah. To see them feel that way. He wants to protect them from this feeling. Yeah. But he can't. Honey, you can't.
You can't stop every single negative feeling. That's just not how living creatures work.
That's not going to happen. But if you can help that person through it, like that means more than trying to hide it from them.
Right. If you could do things to help lessen that negative emotion.
Yes. I feel like that's something every one of these characters are kind of trying to figure out, though. Yeah. I mean, obviously he has this problem more than any of them, but I feel like they're all kind of trying to do it.
That's true. In their own way.
So, of course, yes, he lied. He would never work with Amarantha again. Like...
It's like, yeah, you didn't need to say that you lied. We could tell.
I just love how he picks her up and, like, curls her into his body, and they're just, like, sleeping together that way. Yeah. Two souls twining in the dark. I love the end of this chapter, though, what it says, would you risk looking into the Ouroboros? He said, not yet. Which makes me think that this is going to be, like, a last resort kind of thing.
Definitely.
So, yes, moving on. Starting up at the House of Wind. Oh my god, it's so cool that she can go there now on her own.
I know. She's finally able to have that extra level of independence.
I know. She's able to winnow and then kind of, she can't really fly, but glide down is the better way to say that.
Imagine like super wobbly, like she winnows and then she spreads her wings, but then she's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like, whoa. So it's nice. Even though I don't mind flying up there with an Illyrian carrying me, but there's a level of independence that I appreciate. But she does fall. She falls at the end.
I mean, understandable. Landing is just as hard as actually flying.
Right. Hey, but she's getting better. That's some progress. Yeah. I love Cassian's way of dealing with shit because it's very, very healthy. Like, the training helps to, like, focus and center him. So he's kind of passing that on to her a little bit. So she's like, I want to go hard and limp out of here. Fair enough. We'll do that. It's like, yeah, there are definitely worse ways of coping. Yes. Indeed there is.
Definitely.
Indeed there is. It's nice to know that even after a family spat like they had, it's not really awkward, because I think both of us can relate to hating that feeling feeling
Yeah.
of like not knowing whether or not we should speak. So when Feyre comes back from Cassian, Moore's at the table, just like normal, eating.
Yep.
And yes, so the High Lord's responses. Okay, so we got some first responses.
That's good, finally, considering there's now 11 days until the meeting.
Yeah, let's remember that. So the Day Court, the Dawn Court, and the Winter Court all responded, which were all their allies anyway.
Yeah.
I just love how each letter came with like a different thing. So the Dawn guy, Thesian, is kind of okay with most places. He's kind of Switzerland, bro. He's pretty much fine with everything, as long as it's a truly neutral location.
Yeah.
Helion of the Day Court sent his letter with a bunch of innuendo tied in it.
A flirty High Lord.
Which makes me think, wait, what? What? Innuendo? That's okay, fair. And then Callius wants to bring armed guards, which is not the point of going to the neutral location. They're supposed to go with no guards, no magic, no nothing. Kind of defeats the purpose.
Right.
Obviously, he does not trust the Night Court, which is fair, but they need to clear that shit up right away, I feel.
Yeah.
Right away. So, obviously, that's a problem for another day.
It does kind of make sense, though, that the three remaining courts would be the three remaining courts.
Spring, summer, and autumn.
Summer, there's some issues with summer right now. Autumn was never even really an option, unfortunately.
Which is interesting, though, with Eris. I thought that would be kind of with their alliance.
Right, but it also kind of feels like Eris doesn't want to reveal his hand at that. So I feel like it has to be like a subtle thing. Hey, nudge, nudge, we should go to this.
Yeah, even Feyre's like, yeah, we don't have much time, bro.
Yeah.
I love how Moore's, she understands and like she's willing to drag the High Lords by the scruffs of their necks to this meeting. Well, if you're just gonna do that, then let's just do that and save the semantics.
Yeah, but then none of them, I mean, they already kind of don't like the Night Court.
I know. But if it's Moore, maybe they'll be more willing, I don't know. So Moore and Feyre do have a nice chat about what happened. I really do appreciate this scene. She understands Eris. She understands what happened. She understands that they had no other choice than to kind of work with him to save Feyre. Because she says she even do the same thing. But yes, again, it's about Valaris. Rhys was trying to sweeten the deal with Eris so that Kier wouldn't ask about Valaris. But to no avail.
Unfortunately.
So apparently her and Rhys talked earlier, which is good.
Yeah, that's good.
But she's gonna let Azriel stew for a little while. I kind of hate how she says this, though. I don't know why I expected him to side with me and why it caught me off guard.
Maybe because you've been leading him on, so you feel like you have him wrapped around his finger.
Or that's the High Lord. Like, of course he's gonna do what Rhys tells him to do.
Right.
Even if it might be a bad call. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a slippery slope to go down. If you accept what Rhys-Anne did, then you should accept what Azriel did.
Yeah.
Because honestly, he didn't really do much other than get caught.
Right. It wasn't his choice to get caught, and, then he had to follow Rhys's orders to help deal with it. I'm sure Azriel definitely did not want to have Eris there.
Oh, I mean, dude, he was threatening him every time.
Exactly. So I'll admit I am, maybe just because I'm a little bit biased, but I think Moore is taking it out more on Azriel than she should be.
Oh, 100%.
Like, it's unnecessary. Of like, I'm gonna let Az do a little bit more. It's like, why?
You can't forgive the one, but not. But I do, moving.
Okay?
I know you are. Though I do appreciate what she says here. I will never be happy with any of these terms, but my father wins, Eris wins, all the males like them win if I let it get to me. If I let it impact my joy, my life, my relationships with all of you. True. Very true.
And then she's just like, I hate war.
Yeah, like, very, very likewise.
It's like, oh, that casual thing. I hate war. And it's just like, I guess, yeah, she has been in a few, it would seem like.
Yeah, she's been in too many, it seems.
Yeah.
So then Maja comes. I love how, honestly, this bitch, dude, what a awesome lady. She's ancient because she's old. She's old looking, which means that she's been around for a long time.
Right, which I had to remind myself of, Fae having ethereal beauty and stuff, seemingly non-aging in their bodies forever. So for there to be an old Fae.
Right.
Old. That's actually old.
Yes, actually old.
A Fae to have wrinkles. We never even think of that.
We need to trust this bitch. She's been around the block before, okay? She's trustworthy. So she's like kind of, honestly, if I'm bringing up Avatar again, Last Airbender, it kind of reminds me of like the water healing, the idea of seeing a glow as she's kind of scanning her. So, obviously Nesta's there as well. Maja says there's nothing wrong with her physically, besides the fact that she's like not eating and obviously obviously not getting enough nutrients.
Yeah.
But physically, she's fine.
Which is kind of shocking because we weren't really expecting that.
No, but this is where it gets interesting. She says, I can find nothing wrong with her. Her mind is fine. Her body is fine. I cannot enter it. She cannot enter her mind. She is cauldron made. You are not like the rest of us. I cannot pierce the places it left its mark. And I would not try if you were, lady. Maja says her mind is impenetrable. Like, and warns Feyre against looking. Because it's interesting that she warns her not to.
Yeah.
Because obviously Maja knows about her Daemati powers.
It's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
She does say that, I've seen the victims of trauma before. Her symptoms match that. Is there something wrong with her? I don't like the word wrong. Change, perhaps? See what he can do. If anyone can sense if something is amiss, it's a mate. I wonder how she knew that. Because that wasn't, stated. That wasn't said.
I'm guessing, she could probably sense that.
Or smell it on them, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think so. Even however faint it is, they still can smell.
Or, it was Maja was, looking over, using magic, right? So it's maybe she could sense Elaine's magic, that Elaine's magic was reaching out for Lucian, whether she wanted it to or not.
I do like how when she talks about it, though, to Nesta, when she's trying to explain it, the mating bond is a bridge between souls. So, of course, out of all the people who'd be able to see something wrong without it being, kind of an evasion, or kind of like a back gate, let's say. You can't come in the normal way, but the mating bond kind of oversees everything.
Yeah.
Nesta does not like that answer at all. She's dead set on getting another healer and not believing anything Maja said.
But Maja's the best.
She is their best healer. Also, she also apparently repaired Rhys's wings during the 500-year war. So yeah, you should listen to her.
And she repaired Cassian's wings and healed Azriel. She's Rhys's go-to healer.
Of course. I kind of like Feyre here I love her shutting her down. She's like, be quiet. And she does. She shuts up. It's he will try, and if he doesn't find anything, then we'll get another healer to look. Also, what do you mean you're gonna drag her down here? It's not she's asking him to kiss or something.
Right.
It's not that much of an evasion. Nesta's taking over the top again. I think this is cute as hell. Lucian is so funny. He's just I need to freshen up a little bit. Before Elaine comes downstairs.
And he's just muttering about how he doesn't need to be monitored and hang on, I need to go freshen up.
It's so sweet. I think God, how much Axe did he put on? How much Axe spray did he put on? Oh my God. I feel okay, would he be an Axe guy or would he be, I think he'd be a Polo guy or an Old Spice.
Probably Old Spice.
Yeah. Or a Red Polo maybe? I don't know.
Either way, he's freshening up for his mate that's probably going to ignore him.
Yeah. This is very hella awkward, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been 30 minutes and Elaine and Lucian are sitting in dead ass silence next to each other.
And more in favor of just sipping tea.
Sipping tea, they're going through the notes of the High Lords. Amber and Nesta are in the other room practicing magic. I wonder if their mating bond is, because again, we haven't ever been in Lucian, well, I mean, technically we have been in Lucian's perspective per se, but I wonder if their mating bond is different. I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Because again, I feel like the reason Rhys and Feyre is so unique is because they're Daemati and they can already read each other's minds.
Right.
But do you think they'd be able to read each other's minds, even if they weren't Daemati? I don't know. It's the Feyre sees Rhys and Cassian coming up to the house, walking up after meeting Kyr's Darkbringers, but Feyre tells him, nope, don't come in. You're gonna startle her if you come in. She's like a fawn, bro.
Yeah. That is a funny way of saying it, though, because I can totally imagine Rhys and Cass just walking through the garden gate, just chatting about whatever they talked about in the meeting, and then they see Mor and Feyre looking awkward, sitting at the table, see them through the window. Feyre just speaks to Rhys in her mind, and it's just you don't want to be in here.
Yeah, don't.
And Rhys turns to Cass and is just want to go get a beer or something?
He's telling him everything Feyre's saying verbatim.
Yeah.
I love how, though, he's when can I return without fearing for my life? and then she flips him off. I love how he says this. Illyrian warriors know when to pick their battles. And with Nesta watching everything like a hawk and you two circling around, dude, they have all the powerful females in that house. They're not going in there. Not right now. Not right now.
No.
Girl. Okay, so we do before Reese is like laughing quietly, and so Cassian's kind of he laughs and scoffs and walks off, but Feyre tells Reese about who has responded back, and apparently he received a message from Cressida that Tarquin is still contemplating it, which isn't. At least he heard something from him.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, and at least he's considering it, even if he hasn't said yes. He hasn't outwardly said no either.
Correct. Okay. So yes, like Liesl said, they're going to go for a drink now. Cassian, yep, they're going to go for a drink. She said, I could have used a chaperone with you, I realized. You had 4 of them in this house. Reese, if I remember correctly, none of them were staying townhouse, so...
And he always took them away anyways.
So, no, you did not have a chaperone. You did not. But, okay, let's go with that. I didn't even notice this time, girl, but I laughed my ass off. So... So Fabris says that Cassian like stretches outside, but then Amberyn yells. So again, it's more like of an implied than like an actual. But Amberyn says, "Pay attention or focus." It seems like Nesta got distracted while looking at Cassian.
I know Cassian is like he's stretching out his wings and everything, and I do love the comment about the children who were happily gawking.
It's kind of cute.
But then, yeah, just hearing from the other room of like focus, and then something clattering on the table.
I will say that you and I both can understand this. There's a certain hotness level with a really big buff guy being very sweet to children.
Yeah,
immediate wife, Mary, immediately.
Brain stop working.
No, I can't
wife,
compute.
Mary, husband, Cassian.
I think I was trying to say wife me up, but like I couldn't. It was like a record scratch in my mind. Marry me. Nesta does not compute either. Like she's just like gawking outside. Fair though. Fair.
It'd
be like if Azrael was being cute with the children. Okay.
I feel like with children, at first he would be, oh my god, am I gonna break it?
Oh, yeah. But then he'd be sweet.
Yeah.
But of course, that gets easily covered up by Elaine gets startled from, I don't really understand what she got startled about.
The dining table rattled. The sound seemed to startle Elaine.
Yeah, it was like, I think because of Amryn yelling at Nesta to focus with the dining room table.
I think, at least my theory on what happened is Amryn, said focus, and that made Nesta jump or startle in a way. So, like, maybe she accidentally, like, hit her leg under the table or something, and it shook the table. And that sound is what, like, triggered Elaine.
Also, but it doesn't even seem like that's what startled her. Because, like, I think that's what it was at first, but then Lucian starts to apologize. It seemed like the events coincided with each other.
That's true.
Because he, like, starts apologizing to her. It was a tug on the bond. And, of course, Nesta's up and about immediately. I'm sorry if it unsettled you. It felt strange, like you pulled on a thread tied to a rib. I will say, when I read it this time, I was like, is this bitch over-exaggerating? Because I don't think in the whole time we've ever heard about Rhys and Feyre's mating bond, never was it ever described like that.
A thread tied to a rib.
Maybe that's how their mating bond works. I don't fucking know, but I think that's a little bit over-exaggerating.
It's not connected to their heart, it's connected to their rib.
The fact that she's hiding behind Nesta, too, I was like, for what? Why?
Because Lucian is getting too close. I think that's what that is. And also, Nesta, let Elaine fight her own battles.
I see what's going on here, but at the same time, I'm like, at first I understood, but now 10 reads in, I'm like, bro, bitch, if you're this easily startled, I don't know if you're gonna survive it.
I think she's faking it.
You think?
I think so. I mean, she, early on, she said that she could hear Lucian's heartbeat, so she's aware of the mating bond. Very much, it feels like, like we just mentioned of her, like, going out in the night, or seeming to, like, why was she up at night, sneaking around? Now it's like, she's very emotionless, but then she suddenly has emotion of like, oh my god, what was that? Oh no, Nesta, come save me. I want to hide.
I agree. She's being very wishy-washy in her emotions because she's been playing this depressive fawn kind of creature. And if she was so depressed that she never wanted to get out of bed, why is she going around at night? Even if she did hear something, it's curious and suspicious to say the least. Again, the first time I didn't think this, but I definitely think it now.
Yeah, and then she stares at him almost like she's deciding whether or not to continue, and then she's like, all right, I'm gonna turn that off and pretend to be all dazed again.
So, because then all of a sudden she looks to Nesta and says, twin ravens are coming, one white and one black. I mean, it seems like, so at this point when I read it, I was like, this seems like omens. I don't really necessarily know what they mean, mean. They seem some, like, I don't know, man. I didn't know. Are they omens? Is she just talking out of her ass? But at the same time, like, how would she know things? Like, but also there's nothing that she's saying that has, because normally if it's like a prophecy thing or like a foreshadowing thing, there would be something, an event to trigger it. But she's been saying this stuff this whole time and nothing has happened yet. So until I'm proven otherwise about her saying something that we can understand, like, nothing seems to be adding up. Like, nothing she's saying is anything we know anything about, or that we could even, besides what I was telling you about what she said the last time about changing as she was said, or changing as she was. They're twin ravens. Are there raven banners? Have we seen ravens ever? No. So is this like
with all the birds?
Yeah.
You've got
What is it with all the
Is that something to do with like what the bone cover said about the wind, like flying?
Yeah, it's like, I love how it's like, yeah, none of us know what that one means, so let's just brush past it.
Of course, because she's insane.
Which both of us, when we read it the first time, we were both, nah. Fool me once, fool me twice. Right. Shame on you, shame on me. I love how Lucian's a little surprised there's an actual bond, like a physical bond. Mm-hmm. But, I have to think, none of them have really seen a mated pair in a long time. Mm-hmm. So, also, you don't really know until you know kind of thing. Right. Just because you've heard stuff about it doesn't mean that you know about it, is what I mean. He didn't sense anything wrong with her, but she said, I got to the end of Elaine's when she ran off.
Which makes me think that she is hiding something.
Because why did she run off as soon as he got to the other end? Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. But the fact that he said, so when I was thinking about this too, is that Rhys was very easily able to access the mating bond. Maybe because they're not Daemati, he has to actually pull, and he has to like make his way down the bond. Like, that's why it took long to get there. Yeah. Because it's not something he's used to. Right. Versus Rhys, it was kind of, he's done that before with his Daemati powers, so why would the mating bond be much different? Mm-hmm. It's just another bond. So anyway, Lucian is growing on me. Lucian is very quickly growing on me. Yeah. And also his usefulness, because he's like, oh, you guys are trying to pick a gathering spot, so he helps them with picking the meeting spot, or giving options at least. Mm-hmm.
I mean, as an emissary, he would know.
True, and he's been the one to talk to other courts as well, so he would know. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a really small detail, but like, I really appreciate it. I love how, why is it when it's like a guy puts his hair up in like a leather band, it's like, I just get excited. I just get excited for no reason. Maybe it's because it's Lucian and Cassian, but you know what I mean, bitch. You know what I mean by that.
Yes, I do.
Just like putting up, it's like, okay, he's okay. Anyway, moving on. I just wanted to bring that up for everybody if nobody missed that detail. So now, make fun of me all you want. I do it for the cause. So now we're on our full flying lesson. Now we're like actually getting a full scene with Azrael and Feyre. And this is as fuck. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. But before that, of course, she has to monologue. Mm-hmm. She hits a tree when she first gets there. Yep. She like banks right into the tree, and Azrael's kind of laughing at her a little bit.
And very cocky. Mm-hmm. And very sassy, and I love the sight of him.
And he's just sitting on a boulder, fucking sharpening his knife. Hot. Anyway.
Judging by its size, I'd say it's been there for 200 years at least.
Yeah, she's like, where did it come from? It's been there. So she's talking about what she's been doing for the past couple of weeks. She's been researching books about the wall and giving them to Amryn and whatever. And she looked up about the Ouroboros, which, while the others are trying to find like a Switzerland meeting spot for the thing that's now 10 days away. We're counting it down.
Okay, I think it's 9, because this is 2 days later.
Oh, God. That kind of gives me a little anxiety of just like, we haven't picked where we're meeting yet. Okay.
In 9 days.
No, anxiety off the roof. So what she found out about the mirror is like what people said. They either go mad or they run away in fear from whatever, which makes me hella intrigued, because it makes me think that I don't know what they see. I didn't really know what to think. But it makes me intrigued, but one of those things where it's like, well, we will know when we need to.
Right. In the moment is infuriating.
Yes. Though this was very, very interesting. So she found out that before the Weaver, the mirror had another master who was a dark queen with no name who used it to hunt down young maidens to keep herself eternally beautiful. My first thought was Snow White, immediately made me think of Snow White. Yeah. Obviously that's not the case here, but that's like a very interesting detail that I wanted to add. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, there is no loophole. You must face the terror within or you don't get it, which sucks.
Yeah.
There is no loophole.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she's thinking about this as she's like standing up to go try again because she's like at the top of this small ledge trying to fly down and she's kind of hyping herself up a little bit.
Me though.
Well, Azrael can sense why she's hesitating. It's because she was mortal for so long. Like, imagine being mortal for your whole life and then feeling like you're gonna free fall drop from a height that would have normally killed you. It's like a mental blockade, bro.
Very much so.
The fear of falling.
Yes. It's not the fear of heights, it's the fear of falling. Most fears, there's always like a difference like that.
I don't know about any of you guys, but I have a fear of falling. I don't have a fear of heights, but I have a fear of falling. Do you?
I'd say so. I mean, it's kind of innate in human nature to have a fear of falling. When I was younger, I was not scared of heights until basically I was out canyoneering with my dad and we had to go around like this, like we were on the side of the cliff and we had to go on this really thin ledge and I was perfectly fine with it. But like I looked over and my dad was like up against the wall because he has a fear of heights. And it's kind of around then because then dad was talking a lot about how he's like, yeah, it's the fear of falling, I know, but like also these heights are like really bad and just be careful because your foot might slip. And from then on that, I'm like, I started thinking my foot might slip. And so then it's not a fear of heights, but definitely now I have the fear of falling like severely.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess it's more of a fear of like not heights, but a fear of standing on like rounded edge or a loose edge.
I think standing still on a thing that's really high up is what's scary because I can do roller coasters like no problem. Like if I'm constantly moving, the height doesn't bother me.
You're also strapped in on a roller coaster.
But if I sit and like stare at it and think too long, then of course I'm gonna freak out.
Valid.
But of course, like with the mental blockade, it's the initial leap that she needs to overcome. That's why he won't push her. Like you need to be the one to take the leap.
Yeah.
So she tries again and she banks, but she banks right into another tree.
Yeah. It's like, it still hurts. Tell that to the tree. I love Azrael.
I think you would appreciate this though, is that when he comes to see her, because they're outside in the light, his shadows are kind of gone and they disappear so they can see all of his face. And he looks very, very human.
Yeah. Especially, the rounded ears and
Or she says the most human she's ever seen him. So cute. We have to give Azrael his due. I talk about Cassian so much. We have to give Azrael his moment.
Yes.
Honestly, Sarah, did you think you were going to join a Legion anyway? Because I didn't think so.
No. I don't think she actually would have wanted to. It was the idea of it.
Not because she couldn't, but she is like a leader, and usually the leaders don't fly in the Legion. Like, I don't want to say this in a mean way, but they're usually the grunts.
Right.
So,
I mean, and for Illyrians, they literally are the grunts.
Being in a Legion, that of course she wasn't. But not because she can't, just because, honestly, I don't think she would be there anyway.
I mean, because Cassian, technically, he's general, but I think he could. Like, he would still fight with the Legion.
Yes.
Because that's the kind of person he is.
He'd be in the vanguard, definitely.
Yeah, he'd be leading the charge. Sign of a good leader.
Yes. I love how he says, we will practice until the last possible moment. Because he finally actually opens up to Fair about his childhood, which is not something we've seen him do. He doesn't necessarily say specifics, because obviously Rhysand told her what she needed to know, but he said that when he was, everybody else learned, obviously the stuff that we already know, right? But it was an embarrassment to not know how to fly to them, to the Illyrians. And I love how he says Cassian found him, mocked him, beat him, and then offered training.
Which is so Cassian.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna laugh at you, beat you the fuck up, and then, hey, do you actually want to learn something? Like,
I feel like that's how Cassian makes friends. He has to get in a fight with them first.
True. I feel like this is the way I make friends, but not like the fighting. I feel like we have to go through something really traumatic together, and then we can be friends afterwards. Hey, remember that really bullshit thing that happened that we all went through? Hey, you guys want to be friends? Yes.
But like Cassian beat Rhys first. That's how they kind of became friends, even if Rhys sought him out first. But just like Cass just wandering on his own told him, hey, you don't know how to fly. I'm going to laugh at you. I'm going to beat your ass, and then I'm going to teach you how to fly. Let's be friends.
Because, I mean, even though I love Rhysand, Cassian and Azrael are more on the same plane, because Rhysand's still a highborn. He's still somebody who had more privilege, and so they kind of understand each other a little bit better. Cassian and Azrael, I mean, like, being full bastards.
Yeah.
Not that Rhys can't understand, but there's a level of, okay, but you don't know. So Rhys brought back a story for Azrael to help him with his flight. Lore alert, lore. Oh my god. This is like one of my favorite stories, probably in this whole book, or probably in the whole series. I'm gonna say this was one of my favorite lores in the whole series. So far. So when after the war happened and Miriam and Draken were newly at their place, he went to go visit them at their island or whatever. And Rhys finally figured out what happened, because the lowdown of what we know before this story is that Miriam got speared by the Black Queen. I hate to say the Black Lands Queen.
Yeah.
Draken saved her and brought her to Cretea, and the cauldron made object saved entered.
Yeah.
That's really all we know. We don't really know about what happened. So all through this, we know she freed her people and died trying to save them, but there's so many empty gaps. I never really understood, because they brought this up before about how, like, they thought that she drowned at sea. I was like, wait, how? Oh, I get why. I get why now. They thought she drowned. So Miriam led all 50,000 of her people, her human people, to safety through the desert Blacklands. Now, I do want to say, when I read this the first time, I didn't really think about this, but I wanted to ask you this. The map, I don't think we're seeing the whole map at the top, because we don't see the Blacklands or the Erythian Sea or anything that they're bringing up at all about the continent.
Which it seems like things get added. Like if we compare Akatar to Akamath, the two maps, there's a difference of the prison was added because they were talking about that. But yeah, I think you're totally right, because the continent is very cut off on both the top and the right side. So it's like, it's very clear that there's more to it. You know, the continent, it only looks just barely bigger than Prithian on that map. We've been told that the continent is huge. So I agree. There's definitely way more lands.
So that makes me think, okay, now I want to see the whole map. What the fuck? I want to know where we're visualizing this at.
Add that to the list of things we need to ask Sarah about.
I think that there's a reason for that. I think that, so if we see the whole map, it's going to look like one of the other maps from the other worlds. And it'll be too obvious.
Got it.
That's my mind thinking.
Put together like all three worlds, like all three maps, and then Sarah finally releases a huge map that has like this world, and this world. They're all in the same area.
Bro, you know what? We don't know. That's a very good answer. We don't know.
We don't know a lot of things, but we're trying to learn.
But that's what I thought this time around. I didn't think that the first time. I was like, oh shit, yeah, we do see everything named. Like even Montessori and Rask, like the things that we brought up from before. They just showed up out of nowhere, but we don't know about the Blacklands, Cretea. We don't see Cretea at all. Even though, I mean, I guess it's, you know, it's supposed to be shielded, but...
we would still like see at least maybe the area of like, this is the sea somewhere, Cretea is somewhere in this part of the ocean.
Yeah, but Valaris was shielded last book, and we still knew where that was, so I call BS. Anyway, that's not important, but I just wanted to let you guys know that before we started. So, getting her people from the Erythian Sea, from the Blacklands, the channel was destroyed. And so, again, we've been brought up before, these Seraphim warriors are kind of like the Illyrians. They're winged creatures, but they're feathered. Yeah. And honestly, they're automatically better because guess what? They let women rule and fight. Automatically better. Seemingly like the very opposite of the Illyrian culture, which is so interesting. That two winged people are like very much the polar opposites.
Yeah, but like the whole part of this story of they cleaved the sea in half and then they walked along the sea floor and 50,000 people strong. That's like the whole plot ending of Prince of Egypt. That's the whole Moses story.
Yeah, exactly.
Walking through it and being chased by a huge army behind them. Everything's crashing together at the end, but yeah.
I love how you were like Prince of Egypt and I'm just like, oh yeah, from my Bible readings as a kid. Way too different like...
I'm not religious, but I watched Prince of Egypt. Like, that was like one of my top movies as a kid.
It's good. It's really good. So I agree with you. No, but that's exactly what I saw.
Although,
exactly
I will say, when I was watching it as a kid, I had no idea it had biblical references. I thought it was just like a whole made-up world.
Fair.
And then watching it back as an adult, I'm like, oh, okay.
Honestly, some of those Christian stories, I mean, I'm not like a huge Bible thumper. There are definitely like a lot of Bible stories where I'm like, oh, this story's lit, actually. This could be made into a movie plot, is what I'm thinking. And they have. But anyway, yes. So they also have like wind and air magic, which I wanted to bring that up because that's different really than the Illyrians. They have brutal strength magic, but not like actual elemental magic.
Right. They just have raw power.
Which, again, that puts them up a 1 in the category.
Yeah.
So, yes, while all the humans ran, Miriam stayed behind to make sure not one human was left behind. And so, yes, as Liesl said, the army was getting ready to cross the crossing, and so they let the water loose because, the entire army was, across, the humans were across, and so that their entire army could be swept away. But no one saw Miriam get speared by the Black Lands Queen. She got speared without anybody knowing it except one person. Yeah. One person saw it, and it was Nefel, her name. Nefel. She was a cartographer, and I'm pretty sure, is that somebody who studies maps? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Someone who studies maps, but also makes maps.
Yes. So what's so cool about is we get her backstory before we go back to the main plot. She actually, this is the first lesbian couple we get to see. Liesl automatically excited. Hey, I don't mind a good, gay couple. I don't mind. You just get more excited than me.
Yes. Yay.
But it's fair. Because Draken's general, one of his generals, was Nefel's lover. And so as the sea was barreling down, Nefel was the only one who could reach Miriam in time. But Nefel was a cartographer. She wasn't somebody who was in the fighting ranks because she tried. Draken let her try out. I guess try out's a weird word to say, but try for the Legion, but her wings were too small and one was malformed.
Nemo.
So very much so, yeah. So Nefel couldn't even carry a shield, let alone be in a Legion because I think Azrael also says that she was so small that it would cause gaps. And from any, Legion where it's kind of they're a unit, gaps are pretty bad. You're supposed to stop gaps from happening.
Yeah, and she was short enough that she'd be a dangerous gap in the front lines when they fought shield to shield.
Yes. So, she made herself invaluable in another way. That's great. She couldn't be a fighter, so, she might as well, but also she couldn't really fly very well. But despite that, she became the cartographer she was, helped them, find the best places in the land to win the war. And she even became best friends with Miriam.
Yeah.
Who was the leader, basically one of them.
Yeah.
But it was Nefel who was the only one who remembered her friend that knew she wouldn't leave anybody behind.
Yeah.
So while Miriam is laying there dying, Miriam told Nefel to save herself because as the sea is barreling down on them, this is such a cool visual. I would love to see this. But Nefel would not. So defying all odds, and even when Draken retells the story to Rhys, Nefel picked up Miriam and flew. This bitch couldn't even hold a shield, let alone a whole person with armor, I imagine.
It was triple the weight of shield.
Yes. The cool visual of seeing the sea floor coming on either side, but she had somehow her small wings made it through the rocks where the other Seraphim warriors couldn't. And because of her one wing, I think even Azrael says if she was an inch bigger or an inch closer, she would have died.
I can totally see her weaving in and out, around the rocks and clumps on the sea floor as they're out racing, the water falling in.
Right. So epic. This person who everybody looked down on for being kind of a reject somehow saved Miriam, their leader, defying all the odds, and even her wings did not fail her.
It's a really good quote.
Because it's if I go back to it, she outraced death itself. There was not a foot of room between her and the water on either side. And when she shot up from the sea floor, not half of it rising up to her feet, and yet her too small wingspan, that deformed wing, they did not fail her, not once. Miriam is alive, not only because of Draken, but honestly because of Nefel.
Yeah, because Nefel would not leave her friend behind.
Dude, I cried. I cried when I read it the first time because I love Sarah making this theme, this constant theme of, like she says here, our weaknesses can be our greatest strength. One person can change the course of history. That theme right there is a constant throughout Sarah's books. And I think that's why they impact me so much, is because characters Nefel, who, even though we've never met her, still has an impact on everybody around her. Because it's kind of cute, because when he further tells the story, he's like, Nefel's lover made her wife that night.
No question about it.
Honestly, if you saw that badass, wouldn't you make that woman your wife?
100%, yes.
Totally. 100%. I feel like at that point you have to.
Right. They were already lovers, and then it's just like, oh my god, you're actually really brave.
Well, and also, like, the end of the war, too. Like, we're alive, you were epic, let's get married.
Yeah.
The Nefel philosophy. I fucking love it so much. I love it so much. I also love how that's like a mantra amongst the inner circle, and especially between the brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically between them.
Yeah.
I also like the whole weakness as a strength thing, because I feel like so many times when people talk about, you know, I feel like when people, it's something that we have in common about being kind of having emotions, or having more emotions. Obviously, yes, it can be a weakness at times, but honestly, I don't think I'd want to be any other way.
Yeah, it feels like sometimes like people talk about hey, you should, your weakness can be your strength.
Mm-hmm.
But like it feels like representation to have character with an actual disability being portrayed rather than just having it said of like, oh yeah, you should just turn your weaknesses into your strength, to actually have something to reference off of. I think that's what appealed to me.
Yeah, because it's like you could say a weakness as in emotions, or one that isn't like an actual physical impediment.
Yes.
Because it's actually to her advantage in this specific instance,
yes.
where someone wouldn't normally see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, she can't fight in a legion, or she can't do this or that, but you know what? Hey, when she needed it most, it didn't. Honestly, probably out of anybody who was going to save her, it probably had to be her. Because none of the other seraphim would have been able to save her, because they wouldn't have been able to fit.
Right.
It's badass. So, because apparently they have like a festival every year for the Nefel run, and Nefel and her lover, or her wife, they'll crown a victor every year. Oh, that's so. I want to visit Kratea, man, but like apparently it's destitute now. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So I love this is also the most we've ever heard Azrael talk, by the way. Just letting everybody know that.
I know, our first Azrael monologue.
Right. So I love how he says, so we'll train Feyre until the last possible day, because we never know if just one extra hour makes the difference. So then, of course, she gets up and she goes. Tries again. I love it.
So good.
So then, of course, the last end scene. what a very much a shift from that to like a very domestic scene of Feyre trudging home, and then honestly, it's kind of, how do I say it? Damn it, a gender shift, because like most of the time when people think about it in like a gender normative term, they think like, oh, the man wearily coming home and the wife having to like do all this stuff. It's like interesting to see the guy do it this time.
Right, like she comes in and he just like offhandedly says something, but then runs her a bath.
Yeah, he puts her in the water and takes her out of it and towels her off.
Yep.
He's basically doing everything. And girl, he like goes downstairs, gets the oils and shit, and he massages her whole body. Hot as fuck, okay? This is domestic and cute and sensual.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Just the roving of the hands and, you know, everywhere. But I love how she says it's professional. It's professional but sensual at the same time. And then, you know, obviously, of course, mood shifts to mood, and he like touches her wings, and of course, you know, they're like his wings, so they're very sensitive. I just love how it goes from massaging to like fingering. It's like, bro, honestly, what a good transition though.
Also, like, we already knew, like, Rhys is horny for her constantly.
Oh, I love how he says, how will I make love to you tonight, Feyre, darling? Oh, and he kisses her spine, and like, it's just, this is a sweet sex scene. I love this. This is so cute. Will it ever stop wanting you every hour, every breath? I don't think I can stand 1,000 years of this. Think how my productivity will plummet. I love how then she growls at him like, meh, meh, like not anything romantic.
Yeah, bro, the whole comment of like, I'll tell you that you have the dirtiest mouth I've ever heard.
Which is not true. He literally spends time with Cassian.
Right.
Maybe the dirtiest female mouth he's ever heard.
Probably.
But I love how, like, it goes from, like, fingering to eating out ensues. But I really love the romantic notion of not getting tired of her. I don't know. I feel like that's something in relationships nowadays that I feel like I'm scared about. I think there's a constant fear with me, if I'm being honest, of, I don't know, being with somebody, but then them getting tired of me eventually. I know that's not how love works, but there's a sense of, I don't know, people are so dishonest now, and there's a level of, I don't know, people just kind of jumping from person to person. I just like, there is definitely a fear there. So I appreciate that more than anything.
Reese is also just such a doting mate, though.
He is. Also, just want to say, when he makes her come, like, with the fingers on the wing, I love how she's like, oh, what a cool experiment. And she feels him hard behind her. They're gonna actually have sex. But then he, like, tells her to go to sleep. Normally, that is the other way around, bro. At least from what I've seen, and you know this too.
Yeah.
Normally, it's the situation where, like, the guy gets off, and then, like, then the girl doesn't. But the girl getting off, and then the guy just kind of having to...
It does remind me of the in scene, though.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Except this one is, by choice, of course, not because he's worried about mate versus not mate.
Or, yeah, worried about that this is just for fun.
Right. He's, like, just choosing to care for his mate.
It's sweet. I appreciate it. So, of course, it ends on we had an epic story, but then also a spicy scene. So,
yeah,
that's the end of chapter 29. That's the end of our deep dive section.
So now we're going to move on to our second section. We are going to talk about the graphic audio, which makes me super happy, especially this section, because Azriel. So let's get it.
I am so excited to talk about this. So, if we're going back to the top, graphic audio. I didn't think I was going to have as many, like, notes in this section, and then I saw how many notes at the end I did, and I went, oh shit, okay. So if we're going back up to chapter 25 at the top, like at the top of the Court of Nightmares, when they're walking in, I kind of love the gaps and the uproar of the people at the top when Feyre sits down on the throne.
You're like, oh.
It's a different atmosphere than the other one, because the other one, there was, in the previous book, there was like very much like grumbles, but not like a shock.
Right.
Also, every time Anthony Rhysand goes to the Hewn City, it's hard for me. It's really hard, because he immediately changes to his like dark, intimidating voice, and I'm just like, stop.
His High Lord.
His High Lord. It's just, it's so perfect. Like, especially when, I think he said rise, he like elongated it, and I was like, bro, please, give me some sort of sanity. This is not fair.
Now, where's the fun in that?
I know, it's not. I want to give Melody Muse, Feyre, a good on her narration here, because whenever she's in the Hewn City, not only is her, Feyre's voice darker, but her narration is too.
Yeah.
And I don't think I noticed that the last time, but I noticed it more this time, because she's also more assured going in about what her role is.
And it's like a different role as well, she's not having to like be flirty and stuff. Well, she kind of can, but she doesn't have to. She's there as High Lady, so the level of power that, if we remember from Akamath, like Rhys was just like, I'm scared of you seeing what I have to become in the Hewn City. Yes. It's like, well, now Feyre can become that too, and you don't have to do it alone.
Right, correct. So I appreciate that for her. She did, and she said this to us in her interview, how Feyre got more confident as she went along, and I can totally see the shift, especially even now.
Yeah.
Even in the same book from the top. So that, of course, because we got a lot more of Sean, because we got more of Azriel this time, Sean was like on top, because when they're at the Court of Nightmares, when they're having their interaction with Eris, just him being just like, you don't speak to her. It's like, oh shit. Hot as hell, but at the same, spicy. Okay. Very well done. Very well done. Because it's different than we've ever seen him.
And very feisty as well.
Yes. Very protective, but also kind of losing his cool at moments. I think the last section of chapter 25 that actually made I flinched at the talons in the table. I did. Because it was such an abrupt sound. I actually flinched too.
I think I was surprised by them, because I wasn't expecting them. I don't remember if I flinched or not, but I was definitely like, wait, what was that sound?
I think even though I knew it was coming, it was one of those things where, especially listening to it, I was like, oh, shit.
Right.
I love how it also makes you feel that way too, the graphic.
Yeah.
Does a really perfect job with that. So then, moving on, I think, to chapter 26, this one was rough, because hearing more Amanda's voice, was a little hard, because it was very raw, and you could feel it. Even talking to Eris at the end, more so talking to Kier, like, I think the specific line, it was, you don't want to be free, what do you want? Because honestly, last book, we didn't really see Moore talk to her father at all, directly.
Right.
This is like the first time that she's actually talking to him.
And you can, like, just as Eris said, like, you can hear the waver in her voice. Like, you can hear the emotion.
Yeah, it was wild. wild. Also, I mean, I gotta give props to Kier's voice. Kier was definitely a prick. That was really good. Not like in a very dark, deep way. It was more just an asshole.
Yeah.
Definitely a guy you would think that thought women were just used for the kitchen.
It actually like made me like physically like mad. So props to the voice actor.
Yes. Not that he was like that or anything. I mean, he could, but I doubt it. But so especially the one music point that hit me was after hearing about the Ouroboros mirror. The music after hearing about it was pretty dope because there was like this uneasiness about it, but also a magical sense to it. Of like, but also kind of depressing because, oh shit, we can't get it now.
Yeah. Or it's like, okay, all of a sudden it's way more dangerous to get it.
Yes. Very trepidating music. Trepidation? There we go. Also, oh my god, Azrael, you do not speak to her. Dark shadow daddy energy for the win. It was great.
He does do those dark voices really well.
I think my favorite one, though, besides that one, was when Eris brought up about how he, about how it wasn't what it seemed. He said, then what happened? You could hear like a growl with it. And I was like, ooh, okay. We haven't seen him really get growly.
Eris has a nice voice.
I didn't want to say it. I hate to say it, but he does. Thank you. I was pausing because, oh my god, I hate to say it, but it's hot. But it's not hot in the way that the Bat Boys are hot. It's more of like ooh, I'm not supposed to like it, but I do. Kind
of like it's got a level of like seductiveness to it. Like you said, like kind of you're not supposed to like it. Kind of a forbidden kind of sound.
Yeah, but I'm into it. It's fair. Eris has a nice voice. We're going to leave it at that. But I, especially in this one, because we haven't really seen his voice change, I love how Eris's voice changes when he talks to Kier, as in then to Moore. Because it kind of gets a little softer. And there's more depth to that character then, because he's like, especially when he gets mad at Feyre, you don't know what happened. The range his voice went in this whole scene was very good. Yeah. I think he hit all the points that he should have hit.
And it shows that extra layers.
Yes. It shows the extra layers of acting that normally maybe somebody wouldn't have seen if they were thinking about Eris. It actually made him trust him a little bit more reading it this time. Yes. Because there's a purpose to it. And also, moving on then to chapter 27, I really love the sad music at the beginning. Because again, we're going out of the Hewn City and going back to the townhouse, and it's like readying us for what's about to be said.
Right.
And it's like, ooh, it's rough. It reminds me of like sad rain music.
I could see that.
But then, especially the emphasis then of the music changing to when Moore says why, it changes to a very tense, that's what I was thinking, tense music.
Tense, and it had an edge to it as well.
Yes. Also then, of course, ensuing their whole argument. But I think what really stood out to me was Moore's emphasis on like, well, if Amarantha was here, like the emphasis on her name really got me for some reason.
That argument just, I mean, obviously I don't like arguments in general, but like it just made me cry because no, Reese, you don't mean that. You don't mean that.
No, you don't. But I think also it kind of goes into what you said about reading the text, about how you said that Moore, I don't think meant to say it, but she kind of went with it. It's almost like she went in like, Amarantha were here. Like there was a little bit of pause.
Yeah, just if she were here.
Yeah. So I loved that. I loved Amanda. That was great. Moore having some really shining moments in Akawar so far. Really, really have to say that. And then, of course, our queen, Amren, stepping in. Nora, I remember her name now. We actually looked up Liesl looked up their names for me so that I could have them in the back of my mind.
The amount of episodes that we've had. I'll have to look up her name later or something. And I'm like, you know what? They deserve their daylight. I do not like how the graphic audio webs doesn't have their names listed for every character that they play. That part annoys. So I had to do a bit of research into it, but those are the ones I found.
Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate that. I love them all. I'm sorry if I didn't remember your name right away.
We've got it kind of.
But of course, Nora / Amren stepping in, and how dark her tone got. Of like going from, I will kill him myself. I will not let him. That was very dark and serious.
I like hearing Amren as like the protective, because usually she's kind of like just this sassy old auntie who doesn't want to put up with it. Hearing her like actually get protective and like basically like claiming Moore as her friend in a way with her the way that she spoke, it was just like, oh, Amren.
100%. Because then, especially in this idea of this shift of going from her dark tone of her kind of bringing people together and then her getting vulnerable all of a sudden was jarring because she sounded very scared at first. Like,
I was also going to say with the Amren talking to Moore and reassuring Moore, it actually very much reminded me of you. Like the way of like speaking and seriousness of it.
There's an air of practicality to it, but there's an air of also emotion.
Right. And also the fact that it was very serious and like, I am going to do this, but at the same time it had that extra layer of like, it's okay.
It was anything else. Her voice was too calm, too sweet. I don't know the way Nora did it, but it was like, anything else? It was just so very much different than what she went off of that I was like, Also for how she got very vulnerable when she was talking about her life, her backstory.
Yeah, anything else sounded like to me that she was like putting up walls again, internal walls of like, I'm going to brace against this. And then it's like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm actually going to tell them about this. This is scary.
Right. And of course, her talking about her feelings and then about how she changed. I'm going to get back on my high horse again about how Elaine's voice actor, it was Karina. You got it. Karina, during her monologue, she aced it. I'm not going to lie. The whole, and then her like coming, I didn't hear you, like just gave me such a vibe of, oh my god, she didn't know they were here. And then she's just slowly backing away as she's saying like, she was angry. It was angry. It was, oh my god, it was good.
It was also comedic though.
Yeah, very comedic. Made that moment a little bit more comedic than I would have.
Yeah.
And then of course our boy Gabriel, Lucian, when he comes down the stairs and back to talk to Feyre about how she needs a healer, and especially when he says she went through something traumatic. I was like, oh, Lucian.
Good boy.
This is why, even back all the way into Acco Math, we were like, we still love Lucian.
I think Gabriel did a really good job of showing the contemplating of how to say it. You know, it says in the text, he said, I think she went through something terribly traumatic. He said carefully. And it's like, I can hear that in the way that Gabriel says it. It's like, it definitely sounds like he's choosing his words very carefully.
Agreed. Very attentive. And then, of course, at the end of the scene where Rhys and Feyre are cuddled up together and soft tentative Rhys.
I know that even when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, Rhys like checking on her after she cried herself to sleep. And then hearing him actually so soft.
And he's like, I wouldn't do it. I would have killed her if she fucking stepped foot in here. I was like, I know, babe, I know. We know. That was perfect. It was so perfect. Ugh, Anthony, you son of a bitch. We love you. So then, of course, moving on, I think there was only like a couple of graphic audio moments for me in the chapter 28. It's nice to hear the happiness back in Moore's voice again, like at top, because it's kind of back to normal a little bit. She's like stuffing her face with food, and she's like, like, hi, good morning.
Right, it's very light again.
And yeah, I mean, of course, they do a good job of talking to each other, and I love how Gabriel did like such a really good job of, it was so funny. He's like, when he says, I need to freshen up, I could just see, I feel like if I was looking at Gabriel doing the scene, I feel like I could see him doing something like this with his shirt. Like, I need to freshen up or something.
Yeah. I could see that.
And you brought this up during the main part, but like he actually said, because this wasn't something in quotes he said in the text, but he said, I don't need to be monitored to the side. Yeah. Oh, I will give it up for Maja's voice though. I don't want to like move on without saying something. Dude, she was actually very feisty to Nesta, which I kind of appreciated.
Kind of, like I said, Alice's character, an old lady who's not going to put up with shit.
She's like, but not, she puts you in your place, but without like actually saying anything.
Very kindly as well.
Yes. Talk to her maybe? I don't know. Speak to Elaine? Maybe that'll get you somewhere.
Right.
So then, of course, chapter 29. So, of course, this is where Lucian and Elaine are sitting with each other. And I love how quiet it is. And all you can hear at the top is just the children outside laughing. Which wasn't necessarily something that was written in the text. But I think that's supposed to be like from before, about how when they were so quiet when Feyre got there, the Night Court for the first time, that's all she heard.
Right. I think this part in particular is particularly cinematic for me. It's like there's often like movie scene moments where it's like people are just sitting in a room, sometimes like just reading or something. You often hear the ticking of a clock, and then you can kind of hear the hustle and bustle of what's happening outside. Maybe if like the window is open, you can hear like some birds or something, but like just very quiet inside, and then life goes on outside.
Right. So yeah, I never thought about it that way, but that's a good way to put it. So then, of course, they're Melody monologues, and then finally when John and Anthony, Cassian and Rhys come up to when they return. I love how John scoffs. He's like, and then walks off.
Yeah, he's just like,
And the little kids, you can hear the little kids going, whoa. at Cassian. It's so cute. It is so cute.
Go ahead, stroke his ego.
And I loved the sequence of events where Feyre was like, I need to chaperone around you, and then Amryn being like, focus to Nesta. Gabriel, okay, I don't know if any of you have also listened to Gabriel in the Fourth Wing, you will understand why I think Lucian's soft voice is so cute. Because he is not at all soft in Fourth Wing, so like the fact that this is one of the only times that I get to hear Gabriel being soft is so heartwarming. Because he's like, oh my god, I'm sorry. What did I do? Like,
right.
I didn't mean to. It was so cute, girl. Tear.
Mm-hmm. He was like all like flustered and uncertain, and it's just, oh, babe is trying.
Which makes me so pissed at Elaine for no reason. I'm like, he's trying.
About this, the more I get pissed at Elaine.
I know. I feel like we're ripping on her hard. If she doesn't end up being evil or something, we'll have to apologize to her somehow.
I will only apologize if it is confirmed by Sarah that she is not evil.
Yeah, true.
But for now, you're right. This episode, we definitely ripped into her.
Hey, I gave her voice actor props, bro. She was doing a really good job.
Her voice actor is great. Character pisses me off.
Yes. I will say that Nesta's soft voice was even more jarring this time, because this is like one of the first times we are seeing her be attentive.
Right.
She's like, what can I do for you, Elaine?
Like, yeah, the voice she only used with Elaine.
And I'm like, God, that's very different. So obviously that was good. And then, of course, this whole flying sequence. I love Sean Azriel's laugh. Girl, now I get to rag on her to the day is long about this scene. Just the hotness of him sharpening his knife and him going like, in his like sassy remarks and his laughter.
I do love a sassy, quiet character.
You do. Who's also probably a fucking freak.
Of course, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, and I mean freak in the sheets, by the way, for audience members who don't know what that means. You know there's someone bound out there to be like, are you calling Azriel a freak? No, a freak. I'm talking about a freak.
Even if he was a freak, he was a good freak.
Yeah, dude, don't they always say the craziest people have the best sex? That's what I heard. Anyway, dude, I got lightheaded about that.
Railed a little bit there.
That's what I heard. Anyway, we're talking about the graphic audio.
How silly you that?
I don't know. Anyway, that's just what I believe. Because I'm fucking crazy as shit. Oh, I love the sound of her hitting the tree. Because not only do you like hear the impact, but you hear the leaves, and then of course her bones fucking crunching, and her groaning.
It's like a painful sound, but at the same time comedic.
Yeah,
like,
because we know she's not hurt. Like,
it's like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but I am.
Like I said during the main part, this was the most we've ever gotten from him, which obviously means this is the most we've ever gotten from Sean. And the range of voice during this story of getting really slow and elongated at moments, especially when talking about Nefel's, how she was. Like, Nefel was a cartographer. It was a story.
Very, very, very good storyteller. Like, I could listen to that for hours.
You have. Because especially when he talks about how Nefel couldn't even pick up a shield. The range of level of his voice was really, really good. And especially then him talking about his brothers, like how he was talking about, like, Cassian beat me up, then he mocked, then beat me up, Cassian does, and then he helped me. There was a level of, like, sweetness there when like, I could feel Sean smiling.
It definitely was, some fondness of, like, smiling as you think back on a memory of, like, oh yeah, he totally beat my ass.
And it was, and dude, I cried the first time I heard the Nefel scene from listening to the graph. I did. Just because of how beautiful his narration was on top of, like, the actual content.
Yeah.
And especially when he talks about, like, the strength and weakness and the Nefel philosophy. It was very elongated and good.
I know, his quote about the strengths and weaknesses.
It was great. So that scene was, so the last scene, sorry, there's no really good transition to be like, so then the sex scene,
right.
a very intimate, very good scene of talking about strength and then sex. I mean, fair. Hey, I'm not judging. But the fucking music when he starts massaging is the same as the end music, bro. It's the fucking same thing. It's that, like, bow wow music, and you fucker. I was like, whatever sound designer, whoever was that in charge of that, I caught it.
Whoever they were saw the similarities in the scene between this and the end scene.
And you even said that.
It makes the job easier.
I was like, oh my god. Because it was such a jarring change of music. I was like, bro, oh god damn it, Anthony. I will say Melody did such a good job of the groaning in this one. I think that's a weird compliment to give. I feel like too many times when you're doing, like, a massage scene, I feel like it could be over-sexualized.
Right. Whereas this is like her list of like, oh my god, that feels amazing, having the muscles worked out.
And then the easy shift to more of a, okay, yeah.
I do love that it's an easy shift, and it's very seamless in her sounds.
Yes. Also, good on her for being able to do that into a mic for like however long that scene was. Like, of just making all these different groaning sounds. Like, good on you, man.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Anthony, at the same time, oh my god, the darkness of his tone of just like, how am I gonna make love to you tonight? I'm like, oh my god, stop.
I think I need to start keeping track of how many times you're like, oh my god, Anthony, stop.
That's a weird tally.
But I can count. I think I can start counting how many times you've said that.
Okay, next episode, we'll start counting how many times I say that.
Well, we've got 2 from this episode.
Oh my god. But it was the fact that he somehow makes it like really dark and sexual and all that, but then at the same time he went and like, oh, when is this wanting ever gonna stop? Like, there was like a breathlessness to it. Like, he's not even realizing it. He's like, when is this gonna stop? How much I want you. Like, there was a breathlessness about it.
I'd say it like seems like almost like awe, like a mix of awe and like reverence and fear.
Yeah.
Like, there's an extra level of fear. Like, it's not super like there, but it's just a little bit of like almost like a question of like, is this gonna stop? Because I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, hope it doesn't.
But it sounded like a lot of like admiration and like shock and like surreal. It felt surreal to him.
Surreal. That's what I was trying to find.
Yeah,
I was trying to find surreal. It's just so sweet. But yes, that is the end of my graphic audio notes. If you had anything more that you wanted to say,
well, you kind of covered them. I added mine where I had them.
Well, good. So yes, this is the end of our episode. Thank you so much. So thank you guys so much for listening. I just want to again plug our stuff because we're being more attentive at it. So please, it doesn't take that long to rate us and review on our, like, wherever you're streaming it. That's very helpful to us. And please, if you can, please, follow our Patreon, become part of the inner circle or the Fae, or sorry, the high Fae, apologies. It's only $5 or $3 a month. It's pretty cheap for now because we're also, first starting out and we don't have like a list of things to offer, but there's some great stuff on there for video recordings, early access, all of that. Please follow our Facebook, Instagram, TikToks. They're getting like really up there. Like, it's so great. So great.
And also, if you can't afford the $3 and $5 a month, you can join our Patreon for free as well, just to see what we're doing. We are hoping to start exploring some like free content as well, because we really just want friends. We want a community. So we'd love to be able to talk about this. This is our passion. So we would love to hear from you guys.
Books and all is our passion, which so many other people are, but if you want to come join part of the family, you can. We love everybody. So we thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next episode where we'll be covering chapters, pretty sure it's chapters 30 to the end of 40. So that one's going to be another long one. Yeah, I'm right. Chapter 30 to the end of chapter 40. So it'll be 10 chapters. So buckle up. These next few episodes with chapters are going to be longer. So thank you for staying this long if you've listened. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.